procedural requirements have been met. Have the commissioners had an opportunity to review the meeting minutes that were circulated for the August 22nd, 2019 meeting?
Yes.
And the August 7th special meeting.
Thank you. Yes, and the August 7th meeting?
We have.
Is there a motion regarding approval?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We have a public hearing today. It's our annual meeting to review applications for additional horse-drawn carriages. We have applications from Sugar Creek Carriages, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And we've got a couple of people who've requested to speak. I will call Tricia Lebvecker first. Lebketchers, thank you.
Thanks so much. I'll keep it brief. Obviously, you all know NEA's position on horse carriages. We would prefer to not have them in our city. But I would request not granting additional permits at this time. The carriage companies can't even comply with the current ordinances. We've filed 3 against Southern Comfort just this year that we've won. And I think granting additional permits, they'll continue to shirk the ordinances as they're written. And the companies will continue to disobey the law. I don't think we should be rewarding these companies for their previous infractions, and one of the companies has already been suspended once this year. So I would just like to state that it's Nashville Animal Advocacy's position, as well as the 115,000 people who've signed our petition to ban horse carriages in the state of in the city of Nashville, that no more permits should be issued at this time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can I ask one question? I have one question. You speak in generalities about complaints with horse-drawn carriages. Do you have anything that goes specifically to Sugar Creek's application?
Well, so we've filed we've won 3 complaints recently, including traffic/safety violations, unkempt horse carriages, and operating unpermitted carriages at Opryland. Other companies will continue to have violations. We, aren't everywhere at once, but it's not unfeasible to us that all of the
Are those complaints you're referring to against Sugar Creek?
Those were against Southern Comfort, but we have filed a complaint against Sugar Creek. I'm not thinking of it right now. Amy, unfortunately, is out sick, but yeah, Sugar Creek has had violations in the past. Other carriage companies have filed complaints against them that they've won.
I was just asking about
Sure.
your specific complaints that you addressed to us today.
Yes, not to my knowledge about Sugar Creek, but
Thank you.
yeah, sure. Anything else?
Thank you. Melody Robinson.
I agree with Ms. Lebketcher with Nashville Animal Advocacy. No more permits should be issued. In fact, I would stand in support of taking away all the permits for our downtown. Specifically for Sugar Creek carriages, there are several complaints that I have that have been supposed to be heard for the last, I believe, 3 months against them. I can prove patterns of behavior. They constantly defy authority and spit in the face of authority. And also, I have right here in a lawsuit that I've been served with, that Sugar Creek Carriages is owned by Brenda Smith, which means that he is operating illegally downtown because the certificates are not transferable, as we went through back in December and January when Kim said that she was leasing the carriage from him and operating for herself.
You said that you would support the removal of
Yes,
all
ma'am.
permits. Don't you
Yes,
have?
ma'am.
So that would.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
He will not leave us alone, and that is the only way that we would ever get any relief from his harassment.
Thank you. At this time, I don't have anyone else who's asked to speak at the public hearing on this matter. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak regarding?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant would like to speak with your permission.
All right, that's fine. At this point, we're going to close the opportunity to speak at the public hearing by the general population. We are going to hear from the applicant now. Thank you.
My name's John Smith. Me and my wife Brenda own Sugar Creek Carriages. I have an application for 7 additional carriage permits that I've turned in. At the front of the paper that was just passed out, entered into public record, I have served my country and now disabled vet. We have had a business license in Hickman County since 2001, and we pay taxes through the state of Tennessee Department of Revenue. We are the only carriage company that does, by the way. We are the only carriage company that has a payroll service with W-9s, and we hold FICA as well as Social Security, all other taxes required by the law. Sugar Creek Carriages is the only carriage company that provides workers' compensation insurance to its employees. We are the only carriage company to go above and beyond by providing a driving school not only for the employees but for the general public, as we believe in safety. Over the past year, our amount of business has risen quite a bit due to the other carriage companies not working as much as they normally do. As a matter of fact, American Mountain hasn't even been down there at all that my drivers have said. So that's the reason there's a need. We do have, there used to be like 16 or 17 carriages, and now it's down to, there's not more than eight or nine carriages down there on a given night. And we used to work a lot through the whole week, and it seems that they're only showing up on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. So the work's there, and there is ample parking. There's enough carriages to park on First Avenue and in front of the Hard Rock for, I believe it's right 9 carriages. And then there's another carriage stand over on Commerce, right beside the Second, and then there's another one up at Pita Bread. So we've got ample parking also. And this workers' comp issue here, this is a major thing. There's 8 carriage companies that's regulated in the state of Tennessee between Nashville, Chattanooga, and Memphis. And you know, if one of the employees got hurt, whoever property they was on, they would be liable. And we've been in business for about 20 years. We've had our ups and downs, but we hold safety as our #1 objective. We do an enormous amount of internet sales. That's ticketing companies with different agencies sell tickets over the internet for us, so we have regular tours that we do downtown also. So that's it. Thank you for your time. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Fields, if you'll take a moment and remind the commission the preliminary question we need to ask and vote on before deciding whether to grant additional permits.
Anytime that you're going to grant additional permits under any of the certificates of convenience and necessity, you have to make, you make the first finding you would make is, yes, we believe additional carriages or additional taxi cabs or additional anything that's under a certificate. You'd make that determination. Assuming that was affirmative, the next decision would make is how many would be needed, how many you would like to assign.
How many are out there?
Right now, there will be a total of 11 carriages
For everybody?
for everybody.
Okay.
In other words, operating on public street. We're not talking about
Right.
special events on private property or something like
And
that.
Sugar Creek has 5 currently,
They have 5.
so they have about half of them. And are there actually 9 parking spaces out in front of the Hard Rock for carriages?
Not in front of the Hard Rock. 3 would be about the best you could do there, I think, based on the measurements. So you make it twist and squeeze, but
And the other carriage companies, should they, or assuming that Mr. Smith is correct when he says the other carriage companies have abandoned downtown, there's nothing that prevents them from coming back downtown if they decide to do that.
correct.
So we could still have 11 downtown.
Correct.
Okay. What's your overall opinion about the number of carriages and the space downtown and everything else over the years that we've had this?
I think space in general, not necessarily just talking about carriages. The biggest problem we have in the downtown area right now is the space that's being used for everything. Construction, special events, part of the problem that we have, and we have with carriage, even the one that's in front of the Hard Rock, there are times where special events close it down. So if it closes that one down, it's very likely going to close the one on First down. So it becomes a great challenge just to keep that and the other things that are operating under certificates as well. Because the one in front of the Hard Rock, we actually carved out part of a cab stand. So there's a cab stand and a carriage stand there together. So now there's great challenges downtown for all manner of transportation.
How many parking spaces for carriages do we have designated at this time? The best you can remember.
Well, of course, if you, traffic parking would be the better one to answer specifically because they would be the ones to do the measurements. I would say that if you were to gather every space you could put a carriage, you maybe could you could probably put 9 in every place that you could do it. But that would be 3 here and probably 2 or 3 on First, and then the others would have to be somewhere else. And standing.
When you say that, you mean not taking away any area from taxi cabs, just the designated areas right
Correct.
now for the horse and carriage?
Now, correct. We've got about 3 that I think will fit in front of Hard Rock. Again, depending on how they park over. And I think that's probably perfect parking. There's a lot of challenges. I think they'd all agree. That's one of the complaints I get is one carriage company get in, won't let the other one come in. It'll hold the spot for the next one, and it just goes round and round, which is, why I've been exploring the idea of putting a starter actually at a carriage stand to start each ride that way. It's just a funding issue is the reason we haven't gotten to that spot yet.
And if a permit is granted, it allows them to operate anywhere in the city, or do you have to file a special permit for downtown versus Opryland?
If they're on private property, for instance, and you're going to there's a spot, I'll talk about Opryland here in just a little bit. If it's on private property, I think we look at that different and always have looked at it different. But as far as the carriage, we generally keep them in the downtown area. If they go outside the downtown area, for years we kept them on a route. The reason we have not enforced the route, there still is an official route. The reason we haven't is because of the construction. if we enforce the route every day, 365, there'd be days they couldn't operate at all because the route would be blocked. And in talking with the folks that issue permits, you know, there's another set of permits fixing to happen on 2nd Avenue. There's going to be another hotel across from, it just goes on in terms of construction. There's not an end anytime soon. And it looks like there'll be another lane of traffic closed on a regular basis, because I was called out to look at trolley stands last week. So there's yet another business that wants space to be able to load and unload.
I have a question about process. Would I be able to ask the second witness a question?
Of course. Ms. Robinson?
I'm sorry, yes, Ms. Robinson. Sorry, I forgot your name. So I understand the first young lady that came up, she is against this for animal rights reasons. Why specifically are you against us approving this permit?
We have been harassed incessantly, and it has escalated, like I said, to the point where I've been served with a lawsuit now by this company, Sugar Creek Carriages. They refuse to let us go down there and work in peace, which is why we don't go down there as much as we ever have. I've been down there for 1 hour this whole year, and in that 1 hour, I mean, I believe all of you were here. I was issued a complaint, a full page long, for being down there for 1 hour. It just never ends. I mean, besides the fact that there's absolutely not room for more carriages, you know, I've said before that we have tried, other companies, myself included, have tried parking in other areas that are not specifically designated for carriage parking, but maybe a taxi space or a loading zone, and they, in order to stay away from them and let them have the whole carriage stand, to try to work in peace, and they have turned in complaints against us on that. We can't do anything right according to them, no matter how hard we try. And it's just not right that they are the ones who cause all the problems, but they're also the ones who are allowed to be down there and work. So yes, if that's what it takes, take all the carriage permits away. That is the point that I'm at. Like, it's ridiculous.
Mr. Chairman, in light of these comments, may I respond briefly?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Robinson.
Space. For the better part of a year, you've seen no complaints filed against Southern Comfort by Sugar Creek Carriages. That was as a result of a very effective conversation that I had with their attorney, and that has largely worked. This young lady, however, has engaged in an ongoing campaign on the internet and by filing of frivolous complaints here, directed straight at Sugar Creek. She's accused this man online of murder, of burying a farmhand on his farm, a man that one of our employees spoke with yesterday, by the way, and other things. She is referred to them as, with terms like garbage and scurrilous. She has made similar comments about me. I have plenty enough scar tissue to deal with that. So I'm not responding to that. She's made negative comments about your director. And she is getting photographs or something from someone, not herself, and then filing these complaints. This all began maybe perhaps, was it 2 years ago, when the issue was having shoes on horses. And she was insisting on having her horses unshod. I'm not going to revisit that. But that seems to have been the beginning of all of this. She files complaints with every agency that she can find, most of them completely frivolous. But there's been a good side of this. Some of these things were raised a few months ago, I think, Sir, I apologize for not recalling your name. I've reached a certain age where that's a problem with me.
I understand that.
But you raised a lot of issues about their taxes and so forth. And I told you at the time, and we were serious about it, that Mr. Fields and I were going to have this discussion. And we were going to make sure that this was all right from this point forward. And it is. And he's paying these people as employees. No one else does it, including this young lady. He is providing workers' compensation insurance, as he said. There was one of her complaints, for example, is that Mr. Smith does not have a business license. She got her business license only shortly before she filed the complaint, and only in this county. You only have to have it in one county. He's had his for many years. That would mean that she operated for many years downtown with no business license at all, and we made no complaint about it. Sugar Creek, excuse me, this board does not regulate licensure. A business license is not required to be provided to the staff when a person makes an application. There's been no discussion of it today. But that is typical of the kind of complaints that she will make so as to inconvenience Mr. Smith. She's accused him of stalking. The stalking is taking pictures of people that don't have their hands on the reins. That's what she's talking about. Nowhere other than downtown. I had a discussion with a very fine attorney that she had who came up here last year, an old friend of mine, saying that the time was going to come when somebody was going to sue her. Well, that time did come. And these issues that she wishes to raise can and will be raised in a courtroom, no matter how much abuse she intends to pile on whoever is in her way. Now, the only issue
Can I
before
ask you a question a little bit more about the application, okay?
Yes, sir.
I read here where it says that Sugar Creek already have 13 carriages permitted, but only allowed to operate five operating during permitted work hours.
That's the carriages.
That's yes, sir. I do have 13 carriages permitted, but agreement with Mr. Fields, and I respect that, is I only work 5 of them at any given time.
Okay,
And
so
that's
that's
what I've
an
been-
agreement between the commission and yourself, and that you'll only work 5 at a time, and if one breaks down, you've got one ready to come in and take
Well,
over.
it's not that, sir. It's
But it is
we've got different types of carriages,
Mhm.
and our internet sales, people choose different types of carriages.
Well, some of these carriages are used at the other events, like for weddings and places, not downtown as well.
So are there 13 carriages that are permitted to work
No,
for you?
yes, I can work 13. I can only work 5 at any given time. I've got
So if you have
13.
5 downtown, you can't send another carriage out to a wedding or something?
No.
Okay.
I probably could if I asked special permission from Mr. Fields if it was just a wedding.
Right.
But no, the answer to that is no.
All right. So
I
you're under
cap.
an agreement to only operate 5 at any given time unless you get special permission to add another one on there. Is that accurate?
The commission's authorized, when we were talking about
Yeah.
the 5 and 4 and the 2, number of carriages, the commission actually authorizes how many can be operating in the downtown core historically, is the way we've looked at it. If they've had a special event and they would then ask permission, again, like you're going to have on here in just a little bit, and we would run it through traffic and parking, it goes through the police, and assuming there's no problem, then one of the other 13 carriages. We've typically done that for all of the companies. If they have extra carriages, we'll inspect all of them, and in that way they can use them either on the street or depending on the circumstance, a special event.
So am I looking at an application for a total of 20 carriages permitted, or am I looking at an application for a total of 12 to be
It would be a
permitted?
total of, if you were to approve this application as is, he would be able to operate 12 on the street along with the others that are already permitted.
And have one that would sit back at the garage?
Either that or
Or
he'd
the
have to
barn.
purchase additional carriages. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But, so if we
if he's able to operate 12, but he's made an agreement with the commission that he is only going to use 5 at a time, did I understand?
Today, you would actually have to raise the limit of 5. You would have to say that what you're discussing is, you believe the city needs additional carriages operating in the downtown area, and you would approve 1 through 7, and then it would increase his total to be able to operate. Again, it would not diminish anything from the other companies, but it would just raise the total that are actually on the street, which is...
Sugar Creek can
Right.
operate from 5 to whatever we decide to do.
Correct.
What do you think about the idea of holding off this increase until things settle down downtown with the construction of hotels? We're going to run out of space eventually. Those cranes are going to be moved. There's going to be lanes of traffic that are open, actually. What about the idea of holding off on this until things settle down downtown, where we got more space and parking, and everybody else has had an opportunity to really evaluate the new downtown Nashville?
May I make a suggestion about that? That's
Okay.
in that vein. When I first started appearing down here, maybe 4 years ago,
5 or 6 years.
there had been a cap put on all permits by the prior director, Mr. McQuiston. There were controversies that arose because of that, and the competition for new permits to some degree sprang from that issue. Since that time, several things have occurred. Number one, one of the companies, one of the largest, Hat Creek, went out of business. Mr. Roberts became ill, retired, has left that business entirely. Some others have ceased doing business. Some of the smaller ones ceased doing business at all. Ms. Robinson asked first to come in only on Mondays and Tuesdays, and eventually that, with some vacancies and so forth, she was allowed to come in more often. It's my understanding, and I think what she's told you already, is that she just works now out at Opryland for one of the other companies. In the meantime, the number of people descending on downtown Nashville has, I don't know what the numbers are, but have increased substantially, as all of us here know. In addition to that, no one in those days did any internet advertising. You have these services like Groupon and those. So people are coming in from out of town. You have those people who set up these bridesmaids parties. They're looking for entertainment things. They'll go online. And so as a result, the type of services that Mr. Smith provides has been very much in demand with a much larger audience. Now, at the same time, as you suggest, we've had space limitations arising out of construction. And the construction that has resulted in these routes, we used to have complaints down here raised because people were outside their routes. No one bothers with that anymore for the reasons that Mr. Fields has stated. But I understand the whole idea of congestion downtown. I still would insist that there's a greater need. My suggestion was that you not add 7. I suspect that Mr. Smith did not really anticipate 7 being awarded. Maybe he did. I didn't. But if you were to give him 1 additional, I think it would meet everybody's requirements. Now, the opposition by the animal rights people is not to Johnny Smith, it's to the whole industry itself. I understand that. They have been called, by the way, by this lady online as a fraud, as a fraudulent organization. I don't think they're a fraud. I think they have views that we just don't happen to agree with.
Thank you.
Can I say something very briefly?
No, we're going to go ahead and terminate the public hearing at this time, Ms. Robinson.
Could I ask a question of the director?
Sure.
Mr. Fields, how often do you contact the traffic and parking people about the space downtown?
Well, anytime there's a request for anything special, we have to make contact.
Okay.
When a special event happens, what we try to do is find another space for the carriages to go on. It used to be easier to find additional space. There was a time where we could move them to second or move them to third. Well, even way back, we could go to fifth, but fifth is out of the question almost altogether, especially over by the arena. The convention center, I should say, because of the stonework that we can't let the horses go on because it breaks the stone. So it is a much greater challenge today than it was in 2002 when we actually licensed this to start with.
I know that at their last meeting, they decided to take up, for instance, valet parking, which is not related to this, but it is something that takes up curb space. And I may be wrong, but I get the feeling there are going to be other folks, perhaps in the new administration, that want to look at some of these issues as well.
The administration is going to be taking up, it's my understanding, the administration will be taking up a lot of study of the downtown areas, traffic patterns and traffic flow, congestion, and that sort of thing. I understand the police were looking at a safety study as well, but I can't speak to that because I'm not involved in it.
Yeah.
But there will be studies.
This city is very good at doing studies and plans.
Well, I think we still need to answer the preliminary question. I understand Mr. Blackburn's point about, well, perhaps their request can be lowered to just one, but we do need to ask and answer the preliminary question of, is there a need, and can we safely meet that need if we decide that there is. And then if we answer that question in the affirmative, then we can decide how many from there.
It sounds like the standard is convenience and necessity.
Correct.
Okay. I don't know if there's anything convenient downtown right now.
That's
but,
yeah.
But a necessity, we've had some evidence about a necessity in that there's a lack of, or other companies have withdrawn their carriages from downtown, and Mr. Smith has indicated that he has a booming business.
I think that may be the greatest worry that I have is if they all came back at the same time.
That's my concern.
And I can't predict that, and frankly, we can't. I mean, we can control it, but it'll take official action to do it in more control because they have the authority under previous meetings and approvals to operate all of them at once.
And when Mr. Blackburn talked about some companies have gone out of business, didn't they transfer their permits to other companies?
No, most of them, some of their equipment was sold off, but
Okay.
when Hat Creek closed, it closed. Again, equipment sold, and horses, some of the animals sold as well.
So the number of permits that we've authorized has gone down.
We had, the most you had at one time was, I think, 16.
Okay.
That was when we added two. I'd have to go back and look, but it was what Mr. Blackburn described, the creep up. I think when I came in, there were 11 when I got here, I think, or 12.
Wait, so 16 total permits split between all of the companies, or?
Authority to operate downtown, yes.
And how many total permits do we have right now?
There are 11 that can operate right now.
And those other 5 are terminated, ceased?
They were terminated.
Okay.
Along with, and again, I'm probably sounding more and more negative. It just goes back to the carriage stand space. I can't guarantee space. I wish I could. The space is there today, but it's not a guarantee tomorrow.
Because of the construction?
Well, because the Traffic and Parking Commission controls the space.
Right, that's what I was about to ask. So
In
to
other
get
words,
any more,
if they tomorrow, on any of the spaces, they make Mr. Rogers was referring to valet parking. All the hotels, when they build, they expect valet space. Now, I don't think, they don't have to get it, but they expect it.
yeah.
So it takes, space is what worries me. I just wish we knew more.
That's another consideration, I think, on this convenience and necessity is we are operating without full knowledge of what may be happening in the next 3 months, 6 months, or a year.
I like to tell one of the old man stories that I told when I first came to government 31 years ago, of telling what were we doing on Broadway, and at 9 o'clock on Friday night. No, Friday nights are not a good night. There was at least some people there was nothing going on in 1987.
Are permits, once you get a permit, do you have to renew it or?
Annually.
And so since permits have to be renewed annually, in theory, we could approve this, and if we find a year from now or however long that, this just really isn't working out for whatever reason, whether it be because there are new hotels that have valet space or, whatever the reason may be, we could retract those permits at that time. Is that correct?
The commission has the authority over the permits. They're tough to bring back. I almost said the horse out of the barn, but I did not. I held back from that. I thought that'd be wrong. But once come, whether they're taxi cabs or horse and carriages or anything that requires a certificate, then if they're going to be removed, typically there needs to be there would need to be a disciplinary, in other words, there's an action that would have to drive it other than, hey, we made a mistake. We don't think it was a good idea.
Easier to not give them than to give them and try to take them.
Yeah, they would have due process and the ability to have you'd have to find a violation and bring them before the commission for a disciplinary hearing.
Okay, but the only reason why we would draw back a permit is because of disciplinary action on their part, not because the circumstances have changed in the city that make it so that this is no longer needed or appropriate.
Well, they're annual permits, so, they're only good for a year, but within the 1-year term, that's correct.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Smith asked me to advise you that he would accept his permits expressly on a trial basis, so that it could be extended or withdrawn at the pleasure of the commission without charges being filed. In other words, a trial basis.
I did that once with Diane Marshall for daytime operations, and it worked out very well, and I would absolutely honor that.
I don't really think that's consistent with the code provisions.
Yeah. Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I make a motion?
Yes.
I move we deny the application in total.
Second.
And can I speak to my motion? The reason is because I have a feeling there's going to be, as Mr. Fields says, a lot of studies. And it won't just be about this industry. I think it's going to be about everything downtown. And I just think at this time it's probably inappropriate. And I don't know if that's going to change. Maybe it won't. But if the gentleman wants to bring this back in 3 or 4 months, that's perfectly understandable. But at this time, I'm just not sure. I don't think there's a public demand for more carriages or probably for anything else downtown.
I still second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that 2-2?
You gotta vote.
I vote in favor of the motion. Next, we have a presentation request. Mr. Dave Pomeroy, the president of the Nashville Musicians Association, AM/FM Local 257, has requested to speak. Mr. Fields.
Mr. Pomeroy and I and others from the organization have spoken a long time. There have been issues related to taxi cab drivers and their conduct. I think it's, after all the conversation they asked to appear, I think it's probably best for them to appear. They're very frustrated with cab drivers. I think they're very frustrated with me. So I don't like to hide from the commission, so certainly he's here to speak.
It's quite an introduction, Mr. Fields.
What's that?
That was quite an introduction.
Yes, well, bass players don't get too many solos, so we take what we can. I really agree, sir. that handout
Thank
for
you
you all.
very much.
Contact information. There you go. Thank you all, appreciate it. You've probably seen most of these streets before, but just in case. I'd like permission for John Root, who is also here with me, to come up and be part of this. If John will come. Thank you. Here he is. This is John Root, 22-year member and a drummer who works very regularly on Lower Broadway. So my name, as you know, is Dave Pomeroy. I'm a 42-year resident of Nashville. And since 2009, I've been president of the Nashville Musicians Association. We've requested this meeting with you out of serious concern about the welfare, working conditions, and safety of the musicians who work in the clubs that drive the downtown tourism business. For nearly a decade, taxi drivers have been illegally blocking the designated loading zones, which were created for restaurant supply trucks during the day and for musicians who are loading their gear at night. Despite the many efforts we have made to alleviate and improve this situation, it is getting worse and tensions are escalating. We are here today to explain the history of this problem and to offer some positive solutions as opposed to merely venting our frustrations. Here's a brief history of how we got here. In 2011, we approached Mayor Carl Dean about the difficulties musicians were having getting their gear in and out of the clubs so they can work. After meetings with the police, Public Works, and the Taxi Commission, it was decided that musician loading zones could be created without any additional legislation simply by adding an additional sign to the existing loading zones for beer trucks and the like. Initially, this was a big step forward and helped musicians greatly. Over the next couple of years, we still had some issues with some cab drivers blocking the loading zones and also with police officers being present on Broadway but choosing not to enforce the loading zone rules. This led to a lot of interaction with Downtown Police Commander Jason Reinbold, who was very helpful in instructing police officers on how to conduct themselves on Broadway and helping us to understand the law better. I also met with Mr. Field several times to try and get some help from that end. Unfortunately, it became obvious that the cab drivers have no respect for the law, and unless the police or the taxi commission tell the drivers to move along, they're going to choose to park in the loading zones. Even when they are shooed away, they drive around the block and come right back and repeat the same illegal behavior. Some musicians felt they had no choice but to park in the middle lane with flashers on to unload their gear because of the taxi's refusal to move out of their way. I have been to Metro Traffic Court 9 times with musicians, and 9 times out of 9, we have had parking tickets overturned once we explained that the taxis parked in the loading zones caused the problem. The police officers who wrote the tickets acknowledge this fact every time. Over the past decade, we have sent Metro Police, the Mayor's Office, and the Taxi Commission dozens of emails with photographic and video evidence of drivers breaking the law with taxi numbers and cab companies' information included, but to my knowledge, not a single cab driver has ever had any consequences whatsoever for their illegal actions in all this time. To make matters worse, when musicians try to interact with the drivers and ask them to move along, they are met with abusive language, intimidating actions such as a "I will slit your throat" pantomime. This is getting worse, not better. And I've expressed our legitimate concerns to the police, the Mayor's Office, and the Taxi Commission many times that a violent incident will occur and seriously damage the tourist industry and divide our community at a time when we need to be working together. Sadly, from our perspective, it feels like no one is taking this seriously, which is why we are here today. In 2013, we proposed the creation of additional loading zones to no avail. In 2017, when the decision was eventually made to expand the sidewalks on either side, remove all loading zone signs, and designate the entire outside lane on both sides from 5th to 1st as an active loading and unloading only, we were very hopeful it would make musicians' ability to get in and out of the clubs better. However, it has only made things much worse. The 4 small taxi stands on your map there created have a total capacity of about 16 cabs, and they are woefully inadequate, and the drivers ignore them in favor of parking on the outside lane anytime they want. The fact that there's no signage anymore empowers those who have no respect for the law or the musicians who create the business they profit from. As a cab driver said to me the other night, "Show me where it says we can't park here. Why should I use a taxi stand when no one else does? That was a polite response to a polite question, but many, if not most, of the cab drivers feel empowered to be abusive towards musicians with no apparent consequences. Many musicians have simply given up and park blocks away and carry their gear up and down hills for blocks to avoid the constant problem of not being able to get in the loading zones. In addition to the physical challenges that create, they are an easy target for muggers because they're carrying lots of gear and a pocket full of cash. We met with Downtown Police Commander Gordon Howie several times recently and were told that Metro Police are underfunded and are doing the best they can. He suggested we come to you. We have been told that Taxi Commission employees are occasionally on site enforcing the law, but we have seen little evidence of any tangible results. We have been told off the record that the Taxi Commission is too nice and won't punish anyone. To be clear, we support the let's be nice approach that makes Nashville unique. Local 257 has built a very successful business model on that very concept. But ultimately, it is not fair to working musicians to be ignored and put at risk by siding with irresponsible, disrespectful cab drivers who regularly insult and harass musicians who try to reason with them. Why should the workers who create the demand that drives the tourist and taxi business have to suffer abuse by those who willfully break the law? That's a question. Over the past 6 years, I've submitted dozens of photos and videos of taxis blocking the loading zones to every applicable Metro government branch. When the light turns green, they stand still and wait for a fare as if it was a taxi stand, which it is not. This happens over and over again every night. The block between 4th and 5th is especially problematic. 2 nights ago at 10 o'clock p.m., I went downtown to see how things were going, and nothing had changed. 10 cabs were parked in the loading zone between 4th and 5th, taking up the entire block, and when the light turned green, not one taxi moved. I have video of this and much more for anybody who would like to see it. Feel free to contact me if you'd like to witness some of this. Due to the inaction of Metro government to address this problem, I have begun calling taxi cabs companies individually and identifying the cab drivers by number who are violating the law. For the most part, I simply get lip service in return and the occasional promise to do better. We are documenting taxis breaking the law, but we are not vigilantes, and we do not want to be vigilantes. We simply want Metro and the Taxi Commission to enforce the rules and allow the musicians who work in the clubs to use the loading zones as they were intended to get in and out of their jobs without interference from those with no respect for the musicians who create the demand that they make a living from. For example, recently when a musician politely asked an Uber driver parked in the loading zone who had gotten out of his car, was standing in the street and talking on his cell phone, he was told to F off. When I went to Uber headquarters the next day to explain what had happened and ask for help with accurate information about the driver and his vehicle, including a video, I was told to call Metro Police and file a report. We are not responsible for the behavior of our drivers, and threw me out of the building, and I did nothing offensive. Lyft, on the other hand, has not only given our members discounts, they have instructed their drivers to treat musicians with respect and not to break the law. The difference in these two companies may be a side issue, but it is worth noting that responsible behavior comes from the top down. So how do we fix this, or at least try to improve it for the betterment and safety of Nashvillians, the tourist industry, and help the musicians of Music City? If there needs to be a fundraising drive to hire additional enforcement officers or an appeal to the mayor, we will gladly help. I have a meeting scheduled with the mayor on December 12th. A good start would be increased enforcement and higher fines for breaking the law, and the creation of additional taxi stands. What exists now is 4 taxi stands whose capacity is very small, and they don't use them. It's not even close to enough, even on a slow night. The same tourists who walk up and down Broadway night after night will walk to a designated taxi stand if there are clear signs marking where they are. In addition, the metal bike stands that line the loading zones could easily and cheaply have signs attached to them explaining the active loading and unloading rules and directing tourists and taxi drivers towards taxi stands. We are open to suggestion on how to make this better, and we are committed to working with and not against Metro government to solve this persistent issue that is not going away. This is Music City, not Taxi City. Thanks for listening, and please let us know how we can help solve this persistent problem. And happy to answer any questions. Mr. Root can tell a little bit about the newest technique of the taxi driver.
Well, I've played on Broadway for 22 years, and it's obvious that when, you know, a musician who's 60 years old has to put his equipment on a cart and roll it uphill 3 blocks to a parking garage, he's a target. And we have had musicians that have gotten mugged and robbed because they know they got a pocket full of cash. So because we can't load in and out of the clubs on Broadway, we're putting ourselves at jeopardy by having to walk blocks and be the target. The times that Metro has found extra money in their budget, they've put police officers in the loading zone to keep the taxis out. But what the taxis do then, excuse me, is if you can imagine, they'll just circle the block, but they'll do it at a 2-mile-an-hour rate. So coming down 4th Avenue towards Broadway with the Ryman on your right, they're in the right-hand lane. So if you're trying to get your gear and pick it up on that block, you're stuck in a line of traffic that's not moving. So then your only option is to go down the center lane, then illegally take a right-hand turn from the center lane, and the cabs are all moving real slow on the outside lane, blocking the loading zone still. So you have to beg your way to get into the loading zone to get your gear because they don't want to move. They treat it like a cab stand mentality. I'm the next in line. If I move out of the way, then someone else is next in line, and I'm going to lose my spot. We've been threatened. I've been threatened. I've been told I was a terrorist and he was going to kill me just because I'm trying to do my job and ask them to move out of the loading zone.
It sounds like you're having similar issues with the Uber and Lyft drivers as well.
Well, they're following the cab lead.
Yeah, they're contributing to it, but it is more Uber drivers than Lyft drivers who are causing the problem.
And the cabs are just outnumbered. You know, the Uber drivers generally, they've got a fare coming. Everyone's more using Uber these days, so they're running off to their next fare. But the cabs are just sitting there waiting for someone to walk out of the bar, walk into their cab, and then they'll pull away. But they don't want to pull away to let us in because then they'll lose their spot in line. So that begins the confrontation. And not to overstate it, but really walking with a bass guitar or a guitar on your back to your car after a gig at 2:30 in the morning or even 10 o'clock at night, everyone knows you're a musician and you're coming from your gig. Well, most of the money is based off of tips down there, so they know that they've got a pocket full of cash. And it's just not safe. And it's because the cabs are allowed to break the law. When speaking to Commander Howie, he knows the problem, but there's like 2 officers during that are for that district there, and they have to take care of all the problems. Drunks, accidents, fights, cabs are pretty low on the list.
When do you typically load and unload?
So the general shift change times are based off of 6 o'clock p.m., 10 o'clock p.m., and then 2 o'clock a.m. And it's an hour on either side of that because you get there early. Some bars start at 10 o'clock, so you show up at 9:30. Some bars start at 10:15, so you show up at 9:45 or thereabouts, so it's not a specific time. And for instance, on the 1 block, the 400 block of Broadway, there's something like 25 stages. So that's 5 guys in a band, 5 times 25 leaving, and 5 times 25 coming. So there's a lot of people moving around right then, having to load and unload gear. And guys are playing pianos.
Question. The critical area is between 4th and 5th on Broadway.
That's the main area right now.
It's the worst mainly because of the concentration of clubs there and the closest.
Yeah, I realize that. Where do you load and unload? Right in front of the bars? Not up on 5th?
No.
Near Ryman or anything?
Yeah, no. The outside lane is supposed to be active and loading only on both sides.
Along the sidewalk.
On Broadway.
Right. Yeah.
But it's without the signage, the taxis pretend that it's a taxi stand.
Between 4th and 5th on Broadway, and roughly an hour before and an hour after 6 o'clock, an hour before and an hour after 10 o'clock, an hour before and an hour after 2 o'clock.
Yeah, an hour.
That's right. And those are the peak times, and we have brought that to the attention of Metro, saying, what would it take to get you know, these time frames have one more person, anybody there, and I can tell you, when the police do come, and they do clear.
Are you getting any help from the establishments where you're working? I hate using just the word, the entertainment places.
Yeah.
Have you addressed this to them and asked them, are they able to help you to
Well, a door guy, security door guy, he's standing at the door checking IDs, you know, and watching the club. He can't come up.
I'm just asking,
Yeah.
have you addressed it to them, and have they had any
They're
suggestions?
aware of the problem.
They're
They haven't done it.
sympathetic, but they're not really doing anything.
Has anybody tried putting cones out there to keep cabs from coming in and then moving the cone when your ride shows up? Mr. Fields?
We've talked, and I may have sounded angry. I'm not angry with them. I think the biggest problem that we have is they speak, loading zones are loading zones, as long as they're active. Part of the problem we have is I have zero authority over loading zones. So I can't make anybody, I mean, if I'm down there, I can promise you, I clear Broadway.
Yeah.
When I'm on Broadway, Broadway straightens up with my cabs. I can't be down there every night. I have 2 inspectors that go at night. The problem we've still got, even if a cab is parked in that zone, I can't write a ticket, nor can either of my inspectors write that ticket. A police officer has to do it. I can't go into the street and say, you've got to move right now, you've got to keep going. Do I do that occasionally? Yes. Should I? No. But I wear a big yellow vest and look really silly when I do it. But I understand the frustration. But it's the problem goes back to enforcement, and I can't enforce. Now, if the police, what we've talked about, and I think Mr. Palmer remember because we met across the hall just before I came back over to this job because we talked about it, is if a police officer writes them a ticket, I can bring them in front of this commission if they're found guilty, and you can then deal with it. But until there's a violation that the police deal with it, or until the laws change to give me the authority to write that ticket to a cab, that's where my problem comes in. I'm all for them. I want those musicians to load and unload.
And we've gotten that from Billy.
And I totally get that, but the problem has been that, you know, the police, if right now what they're telling us to do is call 862-8600. And so you can call, and the only thing you can do is report that taxi and their number, and it does create an archive at the police thing. But if a policeman were to come, all the taxi driver has to do is drive off. There has to be some way to delineate these loading zones because they're imaginary right now. And I really think
But Ms. Pomeroy, do you understand that Mr. Fields and this commission has no authority over that loading zone, and we have no authority to go down there and order the cabs out?
And no one does except the police?
No, my inspector's down there, because I followed down to check them. But again, what happens, cab drivers, I've been doing cab drivers a long time, and they're like anybody else. What they're going to do is exactly what John described. They're going to come out, let's go. They're going to loop, they're going to come back, and they're going to get back in line at the end. Well, by then, the police officer who's doing the enforcement, or an inspector who's doing the enforcement, has gone to something else to the next spot. So after you see 40 or 50 cabs, you think, unless you see that same one like, yellow 14 12 times, you're going, didn't I just get rid of you? And I've sent them out of downtown, said, I just don't want to see you operating down here.
Could the commission do something, along the lines of if there's proof that you're illegally parked in the loading zone, you're suspended for,
If they got tickets, that would be proof.
But that's
be proof.
I'll defer back to my lawyer on
Well, Mr. Fields.
I mean, how do we create a situation where there are some consequences?
My question, Mr. Fields, is if we're not able to create loading and unloading zones that are specifically designed to allow businesses to use them for their purposes, which would include their musicians that they hire, and not for taxis, would that be up to traffic and parking to delineate those?
Traffic and parking can designate various places for specific loading and unloading, as I understand.
I don't think the code provides for like passenger loading zone and freight loading zone, but they don't provide for like specific purposes. So I'm not aware of Traffic and Parking Commission. They certainly would be the body with authority over like designating the loading zones and putting up the signs for them, and Public Works staffing it. But I don't know that they could just say only these vehicles can park in this loading zone at this time or something like that. That may be too specific.
The law is in place,
I
is
don't
my
have-
understanding. The law is in place.
For active.
Active loading and loading only is 5th to 1st.
It's clearly an
They just don't.
Sure.
It's an
So
enforcement.
it's not a provision of the chapter of the code vis-a-vis taxis that this commission has the authority over, which is Chapter 672. So if you have a violation of a provision of 672, then they can issue a ticket for it. But was it like a rule that was recently adopted that in terms of other violations of other law, we needed an MNPD ticket before we could take disciplinary action?
Yeah, we were able to make it so if they got the ticket, then the commission could accept that as proof.
Yeah,
and bring them-
672
then take
does say that
disciplinary
they are
action.
required to comply with other law,
So
and that
it-
they can be disciplined if there is a violation of other law. But it's the police who would issue the determination and citation that the other law was violated, and once the TLC has that, then they can then discipline that individual driver.
So you're saying a private citizen couldn't take a picture of a cab that was improperly parked in a loading zone and make a complaint to this commission?
Couldn't to this commission.
Well, the private citizens can make complaints about cab drivers and their conduct.
But it's not a violation of the violation is a traffic and parking violation, not a transportation licensing violation. The law is pretty strict.
And we've filed many of those complaints, dozens.
With traffic
maybe
and parking?
hundreds. Well, no, we've been sending it to police and to Mr. Fields and to the mayor's office. But if whatever entity we need to engage to get this, some sort of enforceability here, because the police are telling us to come to you. And now you're telling us that the police have to do it. So where do we go?
The only thing I can think of is to go to the Traffic and Parking Commission and seek to have some type of relief on a space to where your members can load and unload, much like a resident would have a designated space outside of his home to park.
Yeah, no,
I mean, but
residents do not have that.
that space exists.
Or valet.
It was created. It's just not, it's not being used for what it's meant for.
Mr. Pomeroy, let me just say, I feel your pain. We have the same, people who live downtown have the same problem. Nobody follows the rules. Cab drivers don't follow the rules. Uber doesn't follow the rules. Lyft doesn't follow the rules. Scooters don't follow the rules. Pedicabs don't follow the rules. We don't need any more horse and carriages. We don't need any more pedal taverns. I've been doing the same thing, making reports to Metro, taking photographs, sending them to Metro, sending them to Public Works, sending them to Traffic and Parking. You can't get any relief. So I feel your pain. I don't know what the answer is, but I get it. I also tried to talk to Metro about, okay, I have 45 photographs of trucks in a loading zone blocking a garage. They say, well, can't do anything about it unless we see them. And I said what you said. Can I, here's the picture. I was there. I'll testify. Can't do anything. So, I don't know what the answer is, but I hear you. And if there's anything we can do, I think we'll do it. I just don't know that there is anything. And I think it all comes back to just, city government being a mess and, really not being ready for the growth we had and not managing it. So.
Would you be able to put out an edict or something like that saying to the cab drivers? No.
An edict.
I will.
I like that idea.
That's what I was wondering.
I tell you what I'll do again, which I do regularly, and I know it may not show. I will meet again. I will call. I may not get done by Christmas, but I'll do my best. I'll call all the cab companies in again. I will remind them of what the rule is. Now, cab can load and unload in those zones.
Can we attend that meeting?
But they have to. Sure, I'll be glad. I'd love to have big meetings. That's why I'm here. I love meetings. So let me see if I can get it pulled together and let you address them directly in my presence, and I'll explain to them the frustration and you can explain your frustration. And I get it. It goes back to what I think I started the meeting with. Downtown, there's so much pressure in downtown, and everybody wants to be in downtown, and I get it. Citizens also, it's some of you had talked about the specific language that a rideshare driver used. that's pretty normal, because they've used that on me lots of times, and I just got.
And they know
That's
me.
great.
If I wear my hat, they know me when I'm downtown, and I take pictures of them. And you know, I can have respectful conversations with some of them, including the guy who said, "Well, show me the sign that says I can't park here," which was like, bang. But here, I'll leave you with this. Our main concern is the safety, because if we have some kind of violent incident between a musician who's packing a gun and a taxi driver who's packing a gun, it's going to tear up all this wonderful stuff that makes Nashville so cool. And if we stand by and let that happen, we're screwing up. And I just want to make sure that it's on record that we are very concerned about safety.
Billy,
Yes, we like musicians to be able to get into the club. Most musicians have given up, and they drag their stuff blocks away. And I'm just very concerned, and it's not just, you know, I have other things I could be doing besides this.
Have you gone to Metro Council to one of their public hearings and made this presentation?
Yes, not this latest one, but I will. I'm just going to keep talking until somebody does something.
And just so that I'm clear, we do not set the price for the fines for taxis, or do we?
The provisions on penalties are at the end of Chapter 672. Hang on, I'm scrolling. I believe it refers to the general provisions of the Metropolitan Code in terms of fines, which I believe is up to a maximum of $50.
Now, if they're given a parking ticket or illegal use of a loading zone ticket, it goes to General Sessions Court.
That's correct. And that's pursuant to the Tennessee State Constitution and an interpretation thereof, so we can't exceed that amount.
Oh, okay, so basically, well, let me just, I was gonna recap, but let me just ask a question. Is there a specific fine that if the taxi cabs are parked in an area where they should not be parked, that they can get this $50 fine?
Not from our commission.
Not from our commission?
Yes, if a ticket is issued first for that driver.
I mean, but what I'm answering though is the amount of the fine. It's not designated somewhere. We're just bound by the Metropolitan Code on what the maximum fine could be.
Right. Yeah, the maximum fine that the TLC can impose is $50.
And it's already in place that they would get a $50 fine? Is that?
They can get suspension or revocation of their driver's permit as well. But what Billy is saying is that the enforcer, the traffic the transportation licensing inspectors are not the enforcers of the traffic laws. So in order for there to be a basis for a conclusion that there was a traffic law violated, you need one of the people who are the enforcers of the traffic laws, namely MNPD, and there may be some meter bank patrol officers who have that authority as well, to issue a ticket or citation. And if we have that citation presented to this commission, then on the basis of that driver can be disciplined by the TLC.
Mr. Pomeroy, I want to try to close this loop here because I think we're just going to keep going. I think, number one, it sounds like based on your meeting here today and your presentation, the first thing that we can help happen is you having a meeting with the taxi companies, with Mr. Fields. And so you can directly, again, make this appeal and emphasize the importance and the problems you see that are developing and have been happening over the last several years, it sounds like, and it's reaching a critical point. And then two is continuing to make your plea to Metro Council to increase funding, especially for the police department, so they can have additional traffic enforcement downtown. I mean, we are dealing with that exact issue with scooters and other transportation vehicles all the time. There's just not enough police force downtown to monitor traffic issues.
And the only people who can change the rules are the Metro Council, is that what you're saying?
Well, they're responsible for funding the government, or the city, so yes.
But as far as like the fines and the procedure for, you know, what it would take for a taxi cab to be deemed violating the law, where does that language lie.
That would,
Doesn't sound like you need to change the rules. You just need to have enforcement. As Mr. Fields been saying, you need enforcement. If you get one of those citations issued by an appropriate authority, and that taxi cab person gets up here, we'll get the word out for deterrence of taxi cabs parking in the loading zones. I hope you understand we cannot take any action, and neither can Mr. Fields or his officers.
Well, we followed the recommendation of Commander Howie to come talk to you next, and we'll keep going down the line.
And I'll invite the commander. Commander and I meet pretty regularly. I'll invite him to that same meeting. We might even have it at police precinct if he'd like to have us. So
Okay.
let me work on that and do my best I can to get it done before Christmas.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all, and we're just, our concern is for everybody, not just musicians, but it's a very tricky situation, and we appreciate all the factors that you all are dealing with, and thank you for listening to us.
well, Mr. Pomeroy, I want to thank you as well for bringing this to our attention, and I'm sorry there's not something more direct that we can do, but I'm hopeful that at least having a meeting can keep the discussion going openly, and perhaps you can make some progress with council.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That's actually beneficial. We learned something going on that we didn't.
Yeah.
I see these guys.
It was a lot of money back in the day.
They're up, going up here.
Yeah. Next item on our agenda is under horse-drawn carriages. We've got a request by Southern Comfort Carriages for holiday operations at Opryland. Mr.
For
Fields.
the purposes of keeping the meeting moving, Mr. Morrison's here. He can speak to it directly, but basically what I wanted to do, we talked in the summer, and I think you can see the date of his email to me was July the 30th. When I talked with him, asked if he's going to be at Opryland again this year, he said he would be. I said, well, why don't we make sure that everybody knows let the commission know you're at Opryland, how many vehicles you're planning on using in Opryland, the process you're going to have. Because again, it's not downtown, so it's been, it's generally my position if one of the companies says, hey, we've got a special event, even if it's a long special event, we're going to be on private property the entire time, that they could do it, but they still needed permission from the commission to be able to do so. So again, he has a contract with Opryland to provide tours around the grounds. Again, he's present and can speak to you, but exactly how many he has, if you'd like to hear.
Well, Mr. Fields, it sounds like that as long as they've reported to you, and unless you think we specifically need to hear something, I think that it's perfectly fine for you to give the okay, especially since they're operating on private property.
And there are provisions in the ordinance that gives me authority to do that. So, but again, just we hear a lot about transparency. I want to make sure there is no question about it. And what I would tell to him and any of the other operators is, make sure that, of course, that we have all the paperwork on the horses. Make sure that you follow the rules when it comes to which carriages you're using. If you're leasing some carriages, make sure you have a lease agreement in place. Same with the horses. Make sure everything is on file. And then, and if there's any instance, please let us know.
Mr. Fields, do we need to have a motion regarding the approving the request, or?
I don't necessarily think so, because again, I think I have the authority to do it, but again, it's a lot easier for me to explain it to y'all on the front end than it is to try to explain a complaint in January or February. So all the rules that are downtown would apply out there, because rules apply to Davidson County in general. So the treatment of the horse, the temperature rules, conduct of the drivers, everything still applies. It's just a matter to be done on private property and not downtown on the streets, or any other street for that matter. None of the streets on the Opryland property belong to Metro.
And don't employ anyone who's been suspended by us.
Correct. All the drivers need to be permit. All the drivers need to have their permits. All the horses need to be on file, and all the carriages need to have been approved for use. And all the lights have to be there, and all the signals, the brakes, and the leather has to be in good condition, and all those other things. So, thank you.
Pedal vehicles.
All right, next item on our agenda is under pedal vehicles. We've been asked to take notice of a change of address from Music City Crawler to 801 2nd Avenue South, Nashville 37210.
It just needs to be reported to the commission, and the commission accept it. It's in order.
Move to accept the change of address for Music City Crawler.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we've got driver applications for wrecker and towing services. The first is from Randy Butler.
Mr. Butler? Yes, sir. In making Mr. Butler's application, he wants to be a driver at Dad. Operator of Dad's is here, so he's prepared to speak. He had a significant record, but nothing that would prohibit him from being a driver. But we wanted to make sure you were familiar with him and got a chance to look at his application.
I really appreciated the last part where he says, all I can think of. That would cover in case he forgot anything. I looked at this. Most of these were speeding tickets, and they were no trailer, tag overweight vehicle, CDL out of service. I did see a couple of domestic violences that concerned me.
Yes, sir.
And the work you'll be doing, you're generally not meeting people on a high day.
Yes, sir.
I know these are about 10, 11 years old, but...
Yes, sir. I learned from my mistakes, and I've been to, anger management classes that helped me out a lot, so I'm on the right path right now.
And 2 DUIs.
Yes. That's when I was just young and making mistakes, and I don't drink anymore after the second one. I just gave it all up.
Were you convicted of the aggravated assault in Mississippi?
Really, I don't know what was the outcome. My lawyer handled all that, and I think I had to pay a fine if I'm not mistaken.
Because that typically is a felony.
I don't think that came up as a felony at the time. I think it was just a misdemeanor. Like I said, I really don't know too much about that case. My lawyer handled most of that because I was living in Nashville at the time. So.
Did you go on probation?
No, sir. Like I said, I don't know what happened. All I know, he told me to pay this fine. I paid it, and that was all I heard about it. So.
How much was the fine?
I think it was $800.
Well, it does look like most of the things since 2017, 2009 was your last DUI.
Correct.
And the possession charge was a misdemeanor, or it was a citation. Was that marijuana?
Yes, sir.
How much?
It was less than, I think less than 5 grams.
What does CDL stand for?
Commercial driver's license.
Do you have to have a commercial driver's license to work a record?
Certain ones, but the one I'm starting out, no. I'm starting light duty.
Mr. Butler, I'm looking at the domestic violence, aggravated assault, and then possession of a firearm. Do you carry a weapon?
No, ma'am.
Are you permitted to carry a weapon when you drive? Okay.
Absolutely not.
Like Mr. McNally said, you don't typically come across these people on a high day, so
Yes.
we don't want somebody with a bad temper carrying a firearm, coming into contact with people who are already not happy because you're taking their car.
Oh, no. Like I said, that was when I was younger. It took me a while to grow up and, get out of my anger stage, but I'm to a point now, I'm fine. People say stuff to me all the time, and I just walk away, so, yeah. I just learned to, not even say nothing to them, just keep on doing what I'm doing. That's what they taught me in anger management.
I was going to ask you, what did you said some really nice words that you learned something from anger management classes, but I was curious what you actually learned.
I just learned, to just if somebody, anger you, just calm down, walk away, or, just different exercises that they taught me. I can't remember all of them. But a lot of them is just take deep breaths and walk away. And that's what I do in a lot of situations now. I just don't let stuff bother me anymore. Even with my fiance at home, she say things and I just walk away, don't even acknowledge them. We've been good so far, so everything's working good for me.
Were you driving a truck? Is that why?
Yes, sir.
You got the tag overweight and all of that?
Yes, sir. I was a car hauler.
Okay.
Which we still have a business, I just don't drive no more. I just do the dispatching now, mainly.
You want to hire him?
Well, as I told Mr. Bowler and Mr. Jones both, I'm gonna give them a chance to work very tight ship. There's zero tolerance. If they have an offense, they'll no longer work for them. As y'all very well know, I believe in giving any man a chance, but I'll watch him very carefully.
You're fully aware of his record?
I am, yes. He'll be one of working under the supervision of one of my sons, which will give him no slack.
Drug testing?
Absolutely. Before they can be hired with us, they have to be drug tested.
Make a motion to approve the application.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you. Vincent Carlos Jones, Jr.
Mr. Jones made application again. He has several issues. They were dismissed. Again, by the same token, you've asked to see those. The company he would work for, again, is also present, so would be able to address those issues.
And Mr. Jones, I'm sorry, I mispronounced your name. It's Vincent Carlos Jr. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fields, based on the application, he's qualified, but your concern was to show us everything that was on the
Correct.
extensive record.
Yes, he is qualified, but again, when there are assaults involved, you've indicated you want to review and visit with the driver, even if they're qualified, and would very likely be approved. It's a matter of you wanted to have an opportunity to visit with them a few minutes. And his circumstance with the company, I guess, would be the same in terms of drug testing, direct supervision, zero tolerance, and so forth.
Your violation, you violated probation 3 times? Is that my understanding?
That was for restitution. It's for at Murfreesboro. It was all Murfreesboro.
Okay, and so...
That was the only time I was on probation.
When did the violation of probation take place? I don't see it.
It started in I went on probation in 2005, and it was just most of the restitution. The restitution was like $11,000, and it was kind of hard to pay, that's all.
Was that the vandalism?
Yeah.
You were on
Yes, sir.
probation 2 years for vandalism. You had to make restitution.
Yes, sir.
You weren't doing it in a timely fashion, or at least to the satisfaction of your probation officer?
Yes, sir.
And you ended up having to go into the Rutherford County Jail to serve time?
Yeah, I only went in for like 2 months and got right out.
Because
They just kept starting it over.
And then they put you on parole?
No, just probation.
Just
Just straight
probation
on
again?
probation.
Okay.
So you're currently on probation then?
No, I'm off.
No, it was back in 2005.
I've been off for the last.
Oh, okay.
I've been off since.
My concern, though, is the 2017 aggravated assault, strangulation, interference with emergency call, and I guess it was your child's what? Yeah.
Ex-baby mama. It's dismissed.
You said it was retired?
That's if I get in trouble again, I guess. I don't know how they work, but it's.
Yeah.
Is this
It's
in
all good.
Rutherford or Williamson County?
Davidson County.
Davidson County.
Why was it retired?
Because
she didn't show up?
Yeah, she didn't show up, and
well, were the facts true?
We've been trying to get in touch with her.
Were the facts true?
No, it wasn't true at all.
You didn't strangle her?
No, I did not. I kept on calling. All the times that y'all on that, I'm the one calling the police.
You called the police?
I kept calling.
Well, how did you get charged with interfering with an emergency call?
I truly don't know how that happened. That just popped up on and while I was sitting in I remember that day when I was sitting in cell downstairs before they take me upstairs. The public defender came down and said, "We're gonna dismiss it and don't worry about it, just don't get in no trouble." And I haven't. I just had to let her go.
Was that the same person from 2015, 2016? So there's 3 different times in 3 years that you're charged by her for
all her
assault?
All her.
What do you mean all her?
Yes, it was all between me and her, and not just
You're not saying it was her fault,
No, I'm not saying it's her fault.
but that she was the same victim in each case.
Yes, sir.
And each time she didn't show up?
She showed up, that's why I was dismissed.
Oh, she showed up asking to have it dismissed?
No, she showed up, yeah, she showed up, asked for it dismissed because I didn't do nothing. It's
What?
crazy. That whole situation was crazy.
Well, that's what concerns me, is there can be crazy situations when you're operating a record.
Oh, no. Right now I work for AutoZone. I've been working with them for 2 years. Before then, I was working with True Friends. And I deal with customers nonstop every day. And I worked with them for 5 years. I never had a problem with customers. She was the only problem.
All right, and then July of this year, you got charged with vandalism?
Her.
Her again?
It was her car. She hit my car, and out of reaction, I hit her car with my fist. Her window, I busted the window, and I fixed it. Metro just took me to jail for it. That's why that was dismissed.
How old's the child that the two of you share?
We have a 1-year-old. We lost one little girl.
I'm sorry.
And I just found out not too long ago my other little girl wasn't mine. It's a whole lot of situations. It's a whole lot of
I
stuff
didn't
between
hear
us.
the last part about what you said. You just found
My
out.
oldest little girl found out it wasn't mine, so it was a whole lot of situations. That one way I had to separate.
So I'm going to rephrase
I
what I
got
said a
mine.
moment ago. You have 4 different cases in 4 different years with the same victim.
Yeah, the only reason I was with her that long was trying to make it so she could be in.
Well, it was just July of this year
kids'
that you were
lives.
running into her. So, and each case has been dismissed or retired for one reason or another.
Because she didn't show up, she showed up, and it's a long story.
What would I find out if I pulled these warrants that were taken out by her against you and read them?
You know what, all the warrants wasn't taken out by her. It was Metro that came.
So the police showed up
Yeah.
and took the warrants out.
When I called them, they showed up.
So what would I find out if I read these warrants?
It's not gonna be nothing. It's gonna be, when I called them, they took me in, because most of that stuff, the assault I confessed to, that really did happen, but everything else is.
Which assault did you confess to?
The assault to.
The aggravated one?
Yeah.
The felony one? The strangulation?
That's the one when I found out she was my oldest one, my little girl.
And you grabbed her by the throat?
Yeah, she just, and that was the only time.
So that was the one in 2017.
But that's the one you said at the beginning of this conversation that didn't happen.
It was one, 2017. I always had that paper. I had it all written down, which one it was.
How long you been working at AutoZone?
Almost 2 years now.
Which one? Which place?
Well, I was in 105, Madison. Now I'm over on Dixon Road, and I'm trying to get back to 105. They're trying to make me a store manager, hopefully. Right now, I'm just a parts sales manager.
Right now you're what?
Parts sales manager.
Parts out, good. So why are you trying to change jobs?
More money.
Oh.
Child support, and I'm trying to get back in driving.
What's your experience with operating a tow truck?
Not really that much, but I can learn because I catch on fast. I used to drive a True Friends move, and that's the big, well, I need my F endorsement license. It's a big truck. I drove for him for 5 years.
I have to say that there are some really pretty serious offenses.
Yes.
A few of which are relatively recent, within the past year or two. And I guess I'm just concerned about you losing your temper with somebody who.
Oh, no, I've never losing my temper. It was, with her, it was different. Because I was married for 12 years and I never had a situation like this until I got with her.
You said you were what for 12
Married
years?
for 12 years. And I've never had no situation like I had with her, like I did with her. She has a drug problem.
And you are trying to be a tow truck driver with the same company, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
There's also a notation on here, you failed to pay child support.
That's because I lost my job. That's all it was.
No, you failed to pay child support.
Because I haven't, but I'm here now. They take my money straight out of my check now. I'm caught up on it.
I sure do. Getting it.
Mr. Carlos Jones, I'm not able to make a motion, but I can tell from the hesitancy of the commission, we're having a hard time deciding whether to vote to approve your application, likely because of the recent issues you've had, the arrests and charges you've had to deal with in the last 2 years, 2 of which appear to have been retired, which I understand to mean that if you don't get in any trouble in the near future, they'll ultimately be dismissed.
No, they're going to be dismissed. I won't get in more trouble. I'm not going to get in more trouble.
Which years were you married?
From like right before I got with the one I'm with now. Well, right before I got with her, I was married from 98 all the way up to 2000. 2012, something like that. 2014. We get along great. I have 2 kids with her. My sons. That's what I pay child support for. I got full custody of my baby girl.
And what are all the suspended driver's licenses for?
I didn't.
You have all these suspensions, 07, 10, 12, 13, 14.
Yeah, that was years ago.
Sorry?
That was a while back. And, it was for just driving. I completely forgot why they got suspended, but I just couldn't find a stable job to get them paid off. But I
So
paid
did
them
you
off.
get suspended and then kept driving and then got suspended for driving while you were suspended?
I was young and
Is that-
dumb. Just at that time, I didn't care. But now
I didn't
care.
ask if you were young. I asked you what happened. Were you driving on a suspended license?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
got caught?
Yes, ma'am.
Suspended it again, you kept driving, got caught. And your license is valid now?
Yeah, it's valid F endorsement.
Well, if I vote to approve you, it will only be because of this gentleman here who we've seen many times, who I have faith in. So we're going to rely on you, or I'm going to rely on you to be no tolerance, as you said. And
Well, may I say something? Just because we approve it here, they still have to go through my training program. If they make it through my training program, then they're allowed to stay. And they both, it's been explained to them how we train. And if they have a violation during the training program, they will not come to work with me. So the training portion usually lasts 3 to 4 weeks. And at that point, I can tell you if they're going to fly out or not. If there's any chance, they will not work for me. Or let me rephrase it, your period will move would just be a short period of training only.
Would anyone like to make a motion regarding Mr. Carlos Jones's application?
One of the tools that you have is you could approve a limited permit to him and require him to return. In other words, what you would do is issue a permit and require him to return in 6 months, 3 months, and bring his employer back for an additional review if you'd like to do that.
If we did that, I know one thing I'm going to do is pull your warrants, and I'm going to look at them real careful.
Okay.
Because you warrant off your retired aggravated assault when you got arrested for the vandalism with the same victim.
Both of them was the same day. I think all that was on the same, all that was together.
You got your second vandalism that was retired when you were arrested on July 12, 2019. Your aggravated assault, you were still on retirement stage from that, the strangulation from the 2018. So, anyway, if we did do that, I would like to pull the warrants and look at them carefully.
Can we move to defer the request until he looks at the warrant?
Sure.
Okay, I move we defer the request till the next meeting.
Will that interfere with Dad's training program or anything? I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
You'll be asked to return to the December meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Matthew Angelo Lasari.
Mr. Lasari? Mr. Lasari?
I wasn't voting.
There was a thread that one.
He does not appear to be present.
I wasn't going to vote yes.
Is this first time set, Mr. Fields?
It is his first time.
And what was the reason for it being brought to us?
Just again, the fact that he had charges most recently in the domestic assault and a misdemeanor domestic assault in actually 2019. There was some additional paperwork that was brought in, and part of the problem that we have, and I'm not sure if I explained, we had a small fire at our office a week or two ago. That's the reason you're seeing some of these documents look a little smudged. That was not the copier. That is the flame that we were able to retrieve the paperwork from. So we were unable to replicate a couple of documents that may have been present. But he was notified and should have been here. I just didn't, the letter, I was able to retrieve the letter. It was in such condition that y'all going to have to trust me that he didn't get notice.
Well, traditionally, we usually give a one-time defer. Do you see any reason not to this time?
We'll have one of the problems we had is locate. We'll do what we can to locate him using the previous addresses on his background.
And if we don't hear from him, then...
Correct.
You had trouble locating him? You had trouble locating him?
Well, when the document, when his application was part of the document that was burned.
Oh, I see.
I would move to defer it to the next meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
He could be trying to get into a loading zone for all we know.
Jacob Daniel McMasters.
Mr. McMasters, in making his application, Mr. McMasters left off 2004 DUI, 2004 simple possession, and a 2011 aggravated assault, which is why I brought him to y'all.
We haven't heard anything from him?
Well, wait a minute. pretty significant. You said 2004, 2011, and what?
2004 to 2011, and he's not present.
If you look at the application, the only thing he put down was a seatbelt ticket.
Correct. Correct.
You sent him notice, Mr. Fields?
Well, that's one of the documents that we.
It's smudged, yes.
It's a little smudged.
All right. What do you recommend we do, Mr. Fields?
We can certainly give an opportunity to come back next month, but your authority extends to, you can deny or defer.
Well, this is not as, I don't think this is, even with Mr. McMaster's not being here, even though he was given notice to be here, for him to leave off 3 significant arrests off his application, I think is grounds to go ahead and deny the application.
And maybe he's already seen the writing on the wall, and that's why he's not here. I'll move to deny the application.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Anthony Alexander Sims.
In making his application, he failed to disclose the 2018 charge of animal cruelty. It appears to be an open case. I was unable to find out any additional information.
What happened? What is this about?
My dog got sick and I took him to the vet, and she wanted to charge me $400 or $500 just to run tests. And I wasn't gonna find out exactly what was wrong with my dog, and I told her that I would have to take him somewhere else, and she called animal control on me. And I'm still actively, you can't find anything on it because I had it bounded over because we did a preliminary hearing, and my dog actually had a parasite on his bone, so it was nothing that I could have treated in the house. So I actually found that out in August when we had the preliminary hearing.
And this would not be anything that would keep him from being approved, except he failed to list it.
So why didn't you list it?
I didn't list it because I thought when I read on the paper, it said everything I had been arrested for or convicted. I wasn't arrested for that. They just came and took my dog, but they left my other 2 dogs. They took 1 and left 2. So I'm still going through it now. It stays open because I had it bounded over because.
Is it in Davidson County?
Yes, sir.
Wow. How long ago was it in General Sessions Court?
I just had the preliminary hearing in August, so.
August?
Yes, sir. And the bounded over, they said, I think, 4 to 6 months, so I won't find out anything until after January, February.
So your vet called animal control because you said you wanted to get a second opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't afford, what she wanted to charge me, I couldn't afford to pay that day, so I was gonna have to take him somewhere else. I told her I get paid on a week-to-week basis, and she wanted to charge me $400 or $500, and I think that would have been my whole check, but she wasn't gonna tell me what was wrong with my dog.
So how did your dog get diagnosed?
They took my dog. The animal control came and took my dog, and they had my dog from October. My dog didn't gain any weight till March. They had him October, November, December, January, February. He didn't gain any weight with them till March. So they still have him now. He's still alive. So
They still have him?
yeah, they still have him. They made me surrender him, because they wanted me to pay $5,000, and I didn't have $5,000. So they told me I either had to pay $5,000 or surrender my rights to him. So they forced me to give him over.
I have to tell you, I don't believe that your vet called animal control on you because you wanted a second opinion or couldn't afford the bill.
That's exactly how it happened.
But you got bound over at the preliminary hearing on charges of animal cruelty.
Yeah, I bounded it over because they've tried to give me a deal to tell me I could dismiss it, but I couldn't have any more pets. But I told them no because I wasn't cruel to my dog. I had him for 5 years.
You have the citation with you?
No, I don't have it.
All right, tell me what the citation actually says on it.
You must have seen it. So you give me kind of paraphrase what the citation actually charges you with.
Their citation is over a year old. I just know I took them to the vet on a Friday in October.
I understand what you remember. I just was curious what they actually wrote in the citation.
I don't know what they wrote.
All right. At the preliminary hearing, what was the worst? The preliminary hearing is recorded, right? You may not know
general
that.
session.
Yeah, general sessions. That preliminary. You actually had a preliminary hearing, right?
Right.
Who testified against you?
The actual person that came to pick my dog up, the animal control guy that picked my dog up, and the vet at the animal control place.
They both showed up for court?
Yep.
What did the vet say under oath during the preliminary hearing? I don't want what your version of it. I want what she actually said in court.
My dog had a parasite in his bone, which is what caused him to lose the weight that he lost, which is why they thought I was being cruel to my dog because he lost a lot of weight.
So the vet saw a underweight dog when you brought her into it. You brought the dog into the vet.
Right.
Is the vet a male or female?
Female.
Female, okay. And so when you brought the dog in, the dog was underweight. The vet was concerned about that, and when she told you what it was going to cost to do the testing, you said, okay, I'm taking my dog for second opinion or leaving with my dog.
Yeah, I told her I couldn't.
And then she called animal control because she was concerned about the underweight dog.
Right.
Okay.
But she didn't know at that time that the dog had a parasite in the bones because she didn't do any tests.
I took him to the vet to find out what was wrong with him because I had dewormed him, gave him Pedialyte, gave him dog vitamins. I didn't know what was wrong with him. I had him for 5 years. He stayed in the house the whole time. Except to
What
go
kind
outside.
of dog?
Pitbull.
What are your other dogs?
Pitbulls.
You raise them?
Yeah. I have a girl dog and I have I mated them two and I still have the girl dog and their daughter. They left them, but they took him.
What is this on that you wrote? I can't read your handwriting. Something, it seems like, happened in 2012, and then again in 2016, and then again in 2017.
Could I see it?
It's paraphernalia.
That might have been what it was. That might have been
2006.
Yeah, it's at 2012.
Yeah.
And then 2016 is 17.
Domestic violence and vandalism.
So that means like drug paraphernalia?
Who's he trying to work for?
Smith, and Smith Records here as well.
What kind of drug paraphernalia was it? Especially for the 2017 incident?
A grinder.
I'm sorry?
Grinder.
I'm sorry. I don't know what that does.
It's a marijuana grinder.
Okay, so it was for marijuana.
Yeah.
Do you still smoke? That was just 2 years ago.
Yeah, no, I got in trouble for it. So, as you can see on there.
I couldn't understand what you said. You got what?
She asked me if I still smoked. I said, no, I've been in enough trouble for it.
Oh.
You can see on there.
Mr. Smith, you're aware of his record? Do you have any concerns about it?
I do. How I met him, me and his mom went to junior high school together. So I've been on his family for over 40 years. She currently owns a business across from my business, and she asked me if I could kind of come in and help him out, get him back on track. So as a favor to her, I told her I would do that if I could to try to help him. So with this on his record, he's been having problems finding decent jobs. So I took it upon myself to try to help him as best as I could.
Do you know about this thing with the dog?
I heard he told me about it. What he told you is basically all that I know. I don't know any other details.
How old are you, Mr. Sims?
28.
28?
Yes, sir.
How about this burglary? What was that all about? Am I reading that wrong, or is there a burglary?
Did you see the burglary?
Well, it's not, if it is, he didn't list it on his.
I'm looking at the printout, this
It does have an aggravated burglary.
aggravated burglary.
So that's
Green County?
2 things that you didn't list. Is that correct?
2011. Looks like the last page.
The next to last one, I think, is just all this.
Oh, down
Then we have prohibited weapon. What's that story?
Is that from 2012?
Yes.
I had a shotgun in my house, and it was weed in my roommate's room, and they charged us together.
Is that the simple possession one that you listed on here?
If it's in 2012, then yes, ma'am. But we were in the house together, and so with what he had in his room, if it was more than a misdemeanor amount, so my shotgun was in the house, which is what.
I'm sorry, who is he?
Well, my roommate at the time.
Okay, you had a roommate at the time, and he had a gun?
No, he had weed in his room. I had a shotgun in my room, and with the weed that he had being over the misdemeanor amount, once it became a felony, that's what got me charged with my shotgun. That's why I was bumped down back to misdemeanor.
Okay. But, okay, so going back to what she brought up, there is an aggravated burglary listed on here in Greene County. It says misdemeanor convicted.
No.
Well, it looks like you pled guilty to criminal trespass.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
And what year was that?
It's February 16, 2011 is the arrest date in Greene County, charged with theft under $500 and aggravated burglary. You had a misdemeanor conviction, says guilty plea, lesser charge of criminal trespass.
Yeah, that was.
Does that help?
Yes.
And so, I don't know, are these possessions?
Maybe in Greenville, Tennessee?
Because he has
I remember
multiple
what you're
listed.
talking about.
What are the facts of that case?
It was pled down. I got probation for a year.
No, what did you do?
I was at school, though. They accused me of stealing some stuff, and this dude took a warrant out. They didn't have any basis behind it, but besides what he said, so.
Where were you? What kind of school?
I was at Tusculum College.
Tusculum College. And they accused you of stealing something and breaking into somewhere? And you pled guilty to the misdemeanor charge?
Yeah.
And so, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused. So, because you seem a little bit taken aback by the aggravated burglary. That is something that you did do?
No.
No. So this is a mistake on the, I mean.
Well, what he's saying, he was charged with it, but it was pled down to criminal trespass.
And you're saying you didn't steal anything?
No.
Correct.
But you pled guilty anyway?
To trespass.
To trespass.
To being inside.
So you were guilty of being there, you just didn't do what they said you did?
I was at school. They tried to accuse me of breaking into one of my friend's rooms in his apartment, but that's not what happened. And the representation I didn't feel was adequate, so I didn't take my chance with them. So they gave me that and a year probation, so I took that versus risking 3 to 5 years.
And so, is that because we're here because you have to list everything on this document? And I don't see that list unless your handwriting's a little bit hard for me to decipher. So.
No, I didn't. I was say that's not.
So then there are two things that have been omitted from the document: the animal cruelty and this
criminal trespass.
Okay.
2 episodes. You left one out that I caught. I did not catch the second.
I see another weapons charge here, dangerous felony, possession of firearm with intent. Doesn't say intent to what. Is that a separate one? Looks like a separate one.
Yeah.
You look like you can't even remember what you did.
Nah, because what you talking about is I had a gun in my car. They just found it in my car. But I don't, it was out, that's not a charge that I was gave. I was just had to plead to my simple possession.
That's not a charge that you was, I'm sorry.
I just had to plead to my simple possession.
You pled to simple possession, and what are you saying, they dropped the gun charge?
Yes, ma'am.
So he listed the paraphernalia. The second one, he technically should have written, he listed the event. He just didn't list all points on the event. Then he pled guilty to a lesser charge, so I assume the others were dropped, and then pled to the lesser.
And I'm sorry, what year was that?
2012, it looks like.
The one he was talking about a minute ago, I think.
June 2012.
So that's not listed on here either, is it?
June of 2012.
The paraphernalia charge is listed.
Yeah, I think he's got the simple possession, July 25th, 2012,
Right.
right there.
Oh, okay, so it was July 2012, but not June 2012?
It looks like it's July to me.
Okay.
It says probation, July 25th, 2012, guilty lesser, 2000.
I think the arrest was in June, and the disposition happened in July.
And so with the other incidents that are on your record that were not listed on this document, what is there a reason why they were omitted, or?
No, ma'am, it's not a reason. I wrote down what I remembered, and I even got online on the, I guess it's the public search, and looked up what they had on there. That's what they had on there. I just didn't do the animal cruelty. That's the only one I thought I had left off.
I specifically told him to make sure he put everything on there because Mr. Fields pushes that. So I told him, I said, make sure you put everything. Charge for it or not.
So if we were to approve him hypothetically, what steps are you going to take to make sure that he is a productive employee who doesn't break the law and doesn't end up back here in front of us or worse?
He ain't gonna have time to break the law. I know he's gonna be on the night shift. The night shift require a lot of time. So hopefully he can keep him out of trouble. If he's potentially thinking about getting in trouble, it won't be at nighttime because he's gonna be on the night shift. And my night shift workers, they normally work 12 to 14 hours a night, 6 days a week. He has 2 of the kids, right?
We got 3 kids, 1 on the way.
Okay, so he's got some work he needs to do. He's got a pretty nice sized family.
And this particular company is one of our emergency companies. They've been an emergency company a long time.
My dad started this business in the 80s.
If Mr. Smith were here, you would have liked Mr. Smith.
Is the lady you have the children with now the same one that was involved in this domestic violence?
No, ma'am.
No. Do you do drug testing?
I normally don't, but I have before. Some people who require this stuff, I will do it. Most of the guys I have with me now, Mr. Fields will tell you, they've been there 30 years ago. So.
Well, given that its last simple possession was 2017, I would recommend it to be drug testing if we approve his application. And what's your feelings about coming back in 3 months to tell us how he's doing?
I have no problem with that.
All right. Can you somehow, over the next 3 months, learn to start speaking up a little bit so we can all hear you clearly? And we're, if we do approve it, I'm not speaking for the commission here, but I just would really, I'd like to take a chance on you.
I'm worth a chance. I know I'm worth it. So.
That's a positive. That's a positive.
I guess I'm just concerned about the fact that, Mr. Fields caught the the animal cruelty, but, you know, it says list everything, and there are at least 2 things that you didn't list.
From my recollection, and I even got on, like I said, I got online, the only one I didn't list, that I knew I didn't list was the animal cruelty, because I thought the paper said if I had been arrested or convicted of. And the animal cruelty, they just came and got my dog. That's why I left it off.
Well, it does say ticketed. And when they came and got your dog, they gave you a citation. They gave you a ticket. Anyway, to move this along, I'm going to make a motion.
See if you want to make a motion too.
I'm really on the fence. Well, depending on what his motion is, I might abstain. What's your motion going to be?
All right, because there's a personal relationship here, and that you seem to be wanting to take a real interest in Mr. Sims. I'm going to make a motion to approve, subject to coming back in 3 months and convincing us that you really are working hard and doing a good job. But also, as a condition for it to be approved, that there be every 2 weeks drug testing.
So is this a conditional approval?
Yes.
After 3 months, come back and then would be permanent or removed?
Yes, I couldn't remember the word. Conditional approval, and after 3 months come back so we can review it with drug testing every 2 weeks at his expense.
So the record, you'd expect him to be back in 3 months, you'd expect him to come back with drug reports, and if positive, you'll advise me immediately if it's a positive test.
And I'll make a condition of there also that if there's a positive drug test, that he would be, the conditional approval would be rescinded and placed back on our docket immediately.
And so then I'm sorry, tell me your name again?
Manual.
Manuel would have to come back here with the proof of the drug test. Is that how that would work?
Yes, or Mr. Sims.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll go with aye.
Any
Aye as
opposed?
well.
Aye. Motion passes. Congratulations.
Good luck, Mr. Sims.
I think you should make those drug tests random. He doesn't need to know when they're coming.
I thought you set up a whole company.
No. I don't have that much power. I don't have any, actually. But that's just a suggestion.
Yes, ma'am.
Empowered suggestion.
Thank you. Good luck, Mr. Sims.
Thank you.
We have a driver application under taxi cabs for Idris Aden, or Aiden.
And Mr. Aiden has been a cab driver in the past. About a little more than 3 years ago, he had an issue with a DUI. During that time, he was not able to be a driver. He's now past his time period. He's now eligible to be a driver. Did not appear to have any issues that would prohibit him from being a driver. But again, just the nature, I mean, everything's fully disclosed. It's just the nature. I think what I'd like for the commission to be able to do is to make sure he understands the seriousness of his conduct, and to know that if there's any other failures, he'd be back in front of the commission.
Is it Aiden or Aden? Aden. Mr. Aden, did you hear what Mr. Fields said?
Yeah.
Clearly understand it?
Maybe say it again. Sorry.
You understand the seriousness,
Of course,
how
yes.
serious we take this. And if there are any other issues, we'll be back in front of the commission. Because
Yes.
they don't necessarily have to approve it, even though you're eligible. It doesn't mean they have to do this. But because you went through the period without any problems that I'm aware of, that you didn't have any problems really before, that you can get back into your cab after being out for 3 years.
Okay. I do understand the series.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have requested name change for Fascia Limousine Company to Jimber Mulugeta DBA Jimber Limousine Company.
If I could I recommend, all of them are in order, could I recommend that you take them as a consent is consent
All right.
items, because we've got about an hour or so to complete the agenda.
Do we have enough for a vote?
Yes.
You're good
All right.
for quorum. But
Do you approve all of them, Mr. Fields?
Sir?
You approve?
Yes. If I had authority, I would have already put them on.
I'll so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we've got some complaints and disciplinary issues. The first complaint is by Dr. Tara Long against Nashville Parking Enforcement.
Dr. Long? Dr. Long had advised me that she might have a problem getting here, but she was seeing patients. This particular lot is a Cafe Coco. It's one of the more challenging lots. Is there a representative from the booting company here? Yes, sir. I thought he was.
Is this the one on 21st, Mr. Fields?
It's directly beside.
It's on Louise Avenue off Elliston Place.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
This lot is, and we've talked about it a lot, this is one of the more challenging booting lots in the city because of its many ways to get in and get out. In this particular case, there, again, you can get in the back, you can come through the front, there's another lot you can cross over, so getting the notifications is challenging. In this particular case, Dr. Long insists that there was no signage that she could see. There are signs at the lot. I assume you have evidence of that.
Yeah, I stopped and took some pictures on my way over here. It's been a pay lot for 25 years, and it's the first one we ever booted a car in 17 years ago. You know, her issue, and like a lot of lots, it's a neighboring business rents some space in the lot, and with our signage, we don't differentiate between this space and that space. Everything says it's a pay lot. We don't. If we try and say these spaces are for them, these spaces are for them, it lends to confusion. So it's up to the cafe rents 5 spaces in the corner, and I guess there was some confusion as to whether or not she was in the cafe spaces or not. You know,
and if she's in the cafe space, she doesn't get booted?
No, sir. No, sir, yeah. She doesn't have to pay for those. But
if she's not, then she gets booted if she hadn't paid?
Yes, sir. She doesn't pay the meter, correct. And
again, it is a challenging lot.
We've added signs since this complaint. We put up 3 more. You know, we're trying to be in compliance. I thought we were. If we weren't, you know, we'd do whatever y'all recommend.
So you put up new signs because you realized there was inadequate signage?
Well, it's just to be on the safe side, I guess.
Yes or no?
We added signs, yes, sir.
That speaks for itself.
If you would like to see, I mean, we have a sign here, and we added another one 3 feet away from it, and then we did that at all 3 possible entrances. But like he said, there's a main entrance, and then if you come through a driveway on 26th Avenue, you can get into the lot through an alleyway. And we had a sign on a fence back there, but just to be sure, we put a posted sign up.
And if the wind's blowing, it blow the vegetation across the sign. I mean, trust me, I know this lot.
What's interesting is that the description on the complaint says that when Dr. Long entered the cafe, she saw multiple bright yellow signs stating your car will be booted if not parked in the correct spot.
Yeah, the neighboring businesses all try to warn everybody.
That would happen within minutes.
Did she in fact get booted?
Yes, sir.
What was the fine?
$50.
Did she pay it?
Yes, sir.
Can I see the photos?
Yes, ma'am. This is the entrance to the parking lot. As you can see, the pay meter and a large sign erected there, but the signs in question that we have to have are the red booting signs. And
I'm standing in the street at the entrance to the parking lot. We had that one there. We added this one just to make sure that that wasn't an issue at that
So
entrance.
this one was there.
That one's there, been there forever.
Well, where's the spot where she was?
And then if you come in on the other side of the machine, we had the sign on this pole, but we put a separate pole out here to put the sign up. And then that's the back entrance where we had this on the fence, but we added that just to, so there would be no confusion or.
So where's her car parked in relation to all
Oh,
this?
I didn't take any pictures of that. Her car was parked. When she entered the parking lot, she parks up against the building for the neighboring business.
So she would have come in this way?
She would come in this way and turn to the left, and there's 3 rows, row across here, yeah, and she parked right up here against the building somewhere.
And there are line space there that are numbered, or how's that work? I don't see that.
They were numbered, but now it goes by license plate as opposed to space number.
Oh, right.
So they don't paint the numbers anymore. And then, like I said, there's 5 spaces in the corner that the cafe rents, and the cafe is responsible for labeling their own spaces. We don't, like I said, we don't want to differentiate on our signage. These spaces are paid, these spaces are not. We just sign the whole lot as a pay lot, and then if they rent some space, they're responsible for labeling their spaces.
Okay, so she says she came out, thank you for this.
Yes, ma'am.
She says she came out, went in, found out that her car wasn't in the right spot, came back out to move it, and you were already there? Is that?
Well, it wasn't me personally. I wasn't the one who was working and who booted her car that night, but I don't know if that was the case or not, if she says that was what happened. All we know is we pulled in and see a car there that's not paid for. We don't know how long it's been there or what the case is, but we booted the car.
Dr. Long seems to suggest that someone is sitting there just waiting for someone to park
Dr.
in the
Long
wrong spot.
just has appeared. I'm sorry, she just came in.
Ah,
We have a couple hundred locations all throughout Davidson County, and we have 2 employees working at a time. We don't sit on any particular property waiting on people. It's
Dr. Long, I was reading from your description of the incident.
Yes. And I just like to, whenever he's finished, I can definitely tell what happened that day. And I tried to reach Cafe Coco, so one of them could be here to also, because somebody in that parking lot gets booted 2 or 3 times a day. And one of the reasons why I filed the complaint is because that's just asinine. And he says that they have yellow big bright signs saying that you need to make sure that you park in the correct location, which again, we can all talk about how, first of all, you can't really figure out where to park, right? Because nothing's labeled correctly. This is my first time going to this location to eat, and I paid to park wherever I park. And so I tried to figure out where I was supposed to park, where I was supposed to pay, and I'm right up against the property of the restaurant. And there were no signs that stated clearly which were theirs and which weren't. I passed one of the appropriate places that were open because I didn't know and it wasn't labeled correctly. So when I walked in, by the time it took me to get out of my car, walk in, read those bright yellow signs they have everywhere in their facility because somebody gets booted almost 2 or 3 times a day in their property. I asked him, where am I supposed to park? Which one are yours? And he says those first 5. And they are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's not really, it doesn't make any logical sense that you would have 2 facing this street and then 3 against the wall, but it's almost right next to one that isn't part of what's acceptable. And so when I went back out there, I said, okay, well, there's one open. I'll just move my car there. By the time I got out there, he'd already booted it. He was basically saying, well, I watched you pass one place and another place and another place. I said, well, sir, because I didn't know where I was supposed to park. Clearly, you could have said, hey, you watched me, you waited for me to come to the location and then booted me and then said, well, you can pay me $50 and I'll take the boot off, right? As if, and I said, well, I didn't know where I was supposed to park. And he said, well, that's not my problem. And so the reason why I filed the complaint, the reason why I'm here today is because after I spoke with the manager at Cafe Coco, and he informed me that this happens all the time, in the time of minutes, they just kind of sit there and they boo people. So on behalf of all the people that couldn't take off from work, couldn't make it here, filed the complaint, I feel like that's just astronomical. And I feel like that, A, the signs need to be clear. It needs to be well-defined. I was supposed to walk 3 blocks over, or 3 rows over, pay, and then come back in the parking lots. Where I parked was right up against the building of the location. It's just not clear. And I asked the Cafe Coco why they haven't filed a complaint. They said because they don't own the parking lot. So I feel like Cafe Coco and the group of people may be in cahoots. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that every day 2 or 3 people get booted. There's a problem if that happens every day on a consistent basis, so much so that the location has to put up bright yellow neon signs saying, please park in the right spot or you will get booted within a matter of seconds. That's a problem. And so that's why I filed a complaint.
Did you say July 22nd was the first time you'd been to Cafe Coco?
No, that's the first time I drove to Cafe Coco.
Drove to.
I work where I can walk. So I walked and those signs were not up when I walked there to eat. When I went back and drove, when I walked in, I saw the bright little signs. I said, oh, well, where am I supposed to park? Because I've never driven here before.
Did you get the name of the person who booted you from the company?
No, because at that point I just paid and I went about my business. I decided to file the complaint after speaking to the Cafe Coco manager. And when he told me that this happens all the time, that they haven't been able to work with the booty place or figure out. And I said, well, you know, people come to your location to eat. Don't expect to get booted. You know, quite frankly, I felt I was triggered. I mean, I drive a Benz, and I felt like he just kind of watched me go from one place to another place to another place and booted me. I walked in, came back out to correct where I parked, and he had already said, well, you can pay me $50, I'll take the boot right off. I mean, it didn't take but 2 seconds, maybe 60 seconds, a minute by the time it took me to go in, figure out, well, where am I supposed to park? None of the parking spots for Cafe Coco are readily seen. You have it on the concrete, so if a car is on top of it, you can't even tell if it's Cafe Coco. Against the building, there's not even a sign that says you will be booted if you're not in the right area. It's just not a really great labeled parking lot, in my opinion.
Thank you, Dr. Long. I have a question for you, sir. Could you tell me your name again?
Tim McCready.
Tim McCready?
Yes, sir.
Did you interview the attendant who booted Dr. Long's car?
Yes, sir.
And did you interview him after you had read the complaint?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you ask him if he watched Dr. Long go from parking spot to parking spot to look for the
His description was that he pulled in the parking lot. We use a handheld device that connects to the meter that tells us the license plate numbers. He said that he saw a car that wasn't paid for and he booted the car. He didn't say anything about watching her.
Did you ask him if he watched her go from parking spot to parking spot?
Yes, he said that he did not.
And Cafe Coco is responsible for marking the 5 slots that they have?
Yes, sir.
What's the attendant's name?
Anson Bullion.
Did you ask him to come here today?
I did not.
Mr. Fields, did you ask parking enforcement to have the attendant appear here today?
I did not.
That's unfortunate for parking enforcement, Mr. McCready, that you don't have someone here to counter Dr. Long's statement regarding what happened.
Well, if he We get accused of that all the time. Everybody whose car we put a boot on says, "Would you just watch me?" And I explain to people all the time, we have hundreds of locations. We have lots all over town. We have two guys on at a time. We're not sitting in parking lots watching people. But nonetheless, that isn't part of the code. That's not something that is regulated or mentioned in the Davidson County Code. As far as I know, the only complaint would be about whether or not the signage was adequate.
And that's part of the problem with booting in general. There are areas that we can't exercise authority over. If you read the ordinance at the face of the ordinance of cars parked in a place, whether it's for 1 second or 1 day, it's just as guilty after 1 day as it is after 1 second, or it's in non-compliant for that time period. The issue here was the signage as much as anything. And if the sign was I know there was a sign at the pay station as you come in. Again, this is a challenging light on a good day from a signage standpoint. And if he's placed more, then that certainly would be part of that remedy. But what I would do if I owned the lot and was concerned, I would make sure there were more signs. If I were Cafe Coco, I'd have signs at least on my building. I can't control they may not control the lot, but they can control the side of their building. And I'd make sure there are big signs that you clearly say, park here or park wherever it is, and or watch where you park or something. I think there is one inside, correct?
Right, but by the time you go inside, you see the signs, you already booted. And so that's why I filed the complaint. 2 reasons. One, because Cafe Coco needs to do a better job.
Yep.
And then 2, he really did say to me, I watched you go from one location to the next location to the next location. I mean, I told him I didn't know where. I was more than willing to pay, but he said that he wanted $50. So for him, it was more of an incentive, give me the $50, and then I'll take the boot off.
Right, and that's the point I was trying to make about the attendant, was not that he was necessarily watching her, but it's evidence that she clearly wasn't sure where she needed to park if she's kind of driving around aimlessly and then finally picking a spot. That would mean to me that lends support to the fact that there was not enough signage.
And it happens multiple times every day.
Could I show you the picture of the entrance to the parking lot?
Sure.
The question is whose signage wasn't enough.
I'm here on a different thing, but I'd like to comment on this because I go there a lot.
That's the entrance to the parking lot. We're not trying to.
Right, I understand.
We're not trying to dupe anybody by any means of the word. The only thing it requires is the red sign.
Right.
They've erected this. It's 10 feet in the air and 6 feet across, and it's a large sign, and we label the entire lot as a pay lot.
But where you pay is literally rows away from where you are next to the Cafe Coco. It doesn't even look like looks like 2 different separate lots almost.
Right.
Because the pay is over here, but that's like 2 rows away from where the actual establishment is. It's like 2 big parking lots.
And when you drove in, did you come in that, which way did you enter into the parking lot?
I made a right into the parking lot.
Off of?
Louisa, I think, maybe.
And would that take you underneath the sign that says pay here?
I'm not sure. I didn't see anything.
Yes, it would.
That's the regular entrance way that you're just showing us?
Yes, that's the entrance.
Okay.
But apparently there are 5 spots that do belong to Cafe Coco.
That's correct.
You do not have to pay.
Yes, sir.
They aren't side by side. It's 1 and 2 that are facing Louisa, and then there are 3 up against the concrete, which is the building. And I parked literally right next to the one that wasn't. So it was Cafe Coco, then I parked here. It was just easier for me to pull in and drive in than it was to turn and go into that one that was open. So I passed one that was obviously open that I could have parked in because I didn't know. Because Cafe Coco has not done a good job with labeling. I will say they haven't done a good job with labeling their spots because on the concrete is almost faded out, and then if there are cars there, you can't even see that it says Cafe Coco. But I'm supposed to be looking for Cafe Coco, or looking for a number. So that's where a lot of times when you're paying to park, you look for the number, you go, you put the number in, you pay for it. But, you know, by the time, I mean, he literally, what really...
That being said, I would assume the whole lot was paid lot.
Dr. Long, I have a question. When you pulled in, did you think there was free parking?
Yes, because it's right next to Cafe Coco. And
Why would that make it free parking?
because it's right next to the establishment. I've been places where you can go in and you can go to the restaurant and you can pay. Plus, I've been there a time or two before, like on the street, like on the weekend. But I've never been there during the day and lunchtime. But like I said, I didn't even see where you pay. I didn't even see that whole little box where you pay because it was all the way behind. When I drove in, I went left because the building was to the left. The pay to park is to the right. I didn't go to the right. I didn't look to the right. The machine where you pay is to the right, and I didn't even look that way. I mean, when I came back out and he made it, when he said, well, you could have, you know, paid and did all these things because he saw me come in and pass it, I said, well, sir, I didn't see it.
Did you see him?
No, I did not see him.
You didn't see the truck labeled parking enforcement?
When he was taking the boot off my car.
So where was the truck at, do you know?
It was probably just in the parking lot as far as I know. I didn't look right. Because he saw me
So what size is this truck?
It's if it was in July, it was a
pickup truck.
A pickup truck with parking enforcement on the side of it. It's
I don't.
Same blue color?
It's a black truck with, or no, was it a gray truck?
It was gray.
It was a gray truck with a white background with black lettering on it.
I mean, I don't go places and I, just go back to scenes. I came in to go to the place to eat lunch. I came in, I drove left, past an open spot that I didn't know I was supposed to park at, and parked at the easiest spot to pull into. I went inside the location, saw bright yellow signs, because per the manager, this is something that happens often. Takes all of 2 seconds, so you need to make sure you...
Dr. Long, I understand your position
I'm not
very clearly.
refuting anything you're saying at all.
But you're starting to repeat yourself, and I want to give you as much time as possible, because I think this is important, but I think I understand the issue. Mr. McCready, you said that you have put more signs up since this complaint?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you guys tried to work this out, refund her fine or whatever?
No.
You haven't talked at all?
No, sir.
I think that her complaint is valid. I think that you should have probably offered to refund her $50 before you even got here today. I'm glad that you went ahead and put up more signage. I do think you should reach out to Cafe Coco, or maybe Mr. Field should.
They are under the impression that they can't do anything.
Well, they can certainly put signage on their spots and say, this is Cafe Coco parking only. You may park here for free if you're a patron.
Well, maybe you reach out to him, because he said to me, I don't own the parking lot. I can't do anything with the parking lot.
Well, he clearly rents those spots, the owner of Cafe Coco. Those 5 spots, apparently, according to the record before us, are Cafe Coco spots. They're not paid spots. So they do need to be labeled appropriately. Mr. McCready, that's not his job. His job is to label his spots appropriately.
Absolutely, and I have a problem. I tried to file a complaint against Cafe Coco, but this was all I could find.
Mr. McCready, I think you were going to say something regarding if someone had approached you about refunding $50.
I would have been happy to do it and avoid this completely. I didn't find out about it till today.
Under normal
somebody else was
circumstances,
handling
we
it.
have a complaint on anything. I asked the parties to all work together if they can. In my conversation with Dr. Long, she was not interested in that. She felt like it was wrong and they needed to be held accountable. Is that fair?
Yes, but then they still could have reached out.
I tell you, Dr.
Well,
Long,
I called your office this afternoon, but you were already gone.
Then I'll take credit for that. I did not refer him to you. That would be that's on me then.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just here for all the other people that couldn't be here. If this is happening every day, multiple times a day, then let's work together to make this better for the people that live in this city. Put better signs up for both parties, parking lot, Cafe Coco, everybody.
You know, the only problem I have with what you've said so far is that I don't believe, I know when I pull into any parking lot anywhere, whether on the street or near a place I'm going to visit,
I'm looking to see how much I got to pay. I don't know of any free parking anywhere around, and my presumption is everything I've got paid to park.
It's getting to be that bad, isn't it? Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's bad. It just is. It's the way it is right now.
Yeah.
That's not true, because I just started working where I work.
I'm just sharing my
I'm
perspective,
frequenting a lot of the places that are around. I just started working at my job in 1919 Charlotte. There are a lot of places, and I went to the Jamaican restaurant, I parked for free. So I've gone places, and I've not had to worry about paying to park. But as I mentioned before, I always pay to park if it's clearly well documented somewhere where you can pay it. I don't have a problem with paying.
But
That's not a problem.
you said you passed over several spots looking for a spot where you wouldn't have to pay.
No.
So that kind of makes me think that you
I
thought
said
you had to pay when you went in.
I didn't say that. You misquoted me. I said I passed several spots so that I found a spot right next to where I was going that was easy to drive into, is
Okay.
what I said. I wasn't looking to not pay the park. I was just looking for easy. It's my lunch break. I only have a certain amount of time. I'm getting in there, I'm parking, I'm going in, ordering my sandwich, I'm going back to work. So I was looking for the easiest, and that's what I did. I pulled into the easiest one, where I could have backed in, where I could have turned my car around and went into the one that's perpendicular to the user, but it was just easier to just pull right on in and park right up against the wall.
So if the violation that's alleged is failure to place proper signage, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so to me, just my opinion, I don't see how you, Mr. McCready, or your business have failed to place proper signage, because I saw them clearly there when you enter the parking lot. It does seem to me that Cafe Coco needs to, mark their spots with either a sign or on the pavement or some other way, but I don't see that as
When I
your
spoke to Inspector
responsibility.
Morris, he agreed that there weren't proper placement of signage. So I don't know what he just showed you all, but there isn't proper placement. You can't figure it out. You could not figure it out. Like I said, to pay, I would have had to walk like almost 3 rows over to pay. So I'm not sure what he just showed you, but I don't agree that there is proper signage on either end. Both need to be fine, the establishment as well as the booting company. And because if people are getting booted multiple times a day, every day, it's not everybody walking around trying to get over. No. The fact that they have now put bright neon signs in their establishment is a problem, because this happens too many times a day. The person behind the counter says, oh yeah, somebody complains about 3 times a day. They come in and they're upset that they got booted. That's far too many. I don't know the averages, percentages, but a percentage of a lot that gets booted that much needs to raise a few eyebrows.
Well, I'm not saying you were trying to get over, but Mr. McCready, are the spots that belong to the lot numbered?
No, not clearly.
No?
I told you they switched it from space numbers to license
That's right.
plates,
You
so
asked me
they
that
don't.
already.
So they no longer number the
You told me
spaces.
that already.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that's a yes or no question. No, they're not labeled correctly.
Dr.
There's-
Long,
you can't
if
see
you,
that many.
Dr. Long, they'll call them. We're going to try to get this hearing.
Well, he should have said no. They're not labeled correctly.
When did you make the switch?
From numbered spaces to license plates, year or 2 ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so the numbers that are there are a year or 2 old and
they're used-
faded,
yeah.
and we don't use them.
Yeah.
Well, if you can't see Cafe Coco sign and you can't see the number, how are you supposed to know?
I make a motion to dismiss the complaint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask why? I mean, because clearly they're at fault. Can I ask why you dismissed the complaint?
Dr. Long, we've ruled we don't have to give a reasoning. I think you can, based on the record, you can make some presumptions. You do have a right to appeal.
Okay, how do I do that?
You were not here at the beginning of the meeting, but you can have my appeal notice if you'd like. Gives all the instructions on how to appeal to the Chancery Court or Circuit Court
Absolutely.
from this commission.
The inspector told me that there was failure on their part to clearly document the signage.
I understand
I
that.
would love to know where you guys thought this wasn't valid. Thank you.
Next, we have another complaint on our agenda by Nashville Animal Advocates against Southern Comfort Carriages.
Fields. Can we get some AV assistance? Is that possible? Yeah, can we get the TV on?
Well, it would have been a whole lot easier to move it before the meeting.
Sure, I can just show them on my laptop if you want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's do
If
that.
you're fine with that, I just...
If we can do that.
I do want to let everyone know that we need to conclude our meeting at 5 p.m. today, and so we'll just have to pick up where we leave off today for next month. There are those on the commission that have places to be at 5:30.
We don't anticipate this will take longer than a couple minutes. The nature of the complaint, do you all have copies of it in front of you already?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that Southern Comfort Carriages was operating, or loading and unloading outside of one of the designated carriage stands. I've got Ms. Leibketcher, who was the witness to the violation, as well as a video of the violation. I'm going to ask her a couple questions, and then I'll play the video for you guys, and we'll be done. Can you state your name?
Yes.
What is your name? That's good. As the attorney, he's glad that you gave that answer. That is the correct. What is your name?
Yes, my name is Trisha Leibketcher.
Were you personally present on 2nd Street on...
Excuse me, Ms. Ledbecker, I'm going to put you under oath here.
Sure.
If you'll please repeat after me. I swear or affirm that the testimony that I'm about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I swear, or is it and or?
I swear or affirm.
Okay. I swear or affirm that the testimony I'm about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Your name on the record. Were you personally present on 2nd Street on June 3rd, 2019?
Yes, I took the video in question.
Great. Thanks for answering my next question. Can you tell me what you saw when you drove by?
Yes, I saw a gentleman who I believe to be Kenny Hale was parked on the side of 2nd Street in a no loading zone where he was not allowed to be parked.
Okay. And you took the video that I'm about to show the commission?
Yes.
I'll just let them know you want me. Get up.
All right.
I'm going to show you the video.
Yes.
Is that the carriage in question?
Yes.
Okay. Is this consistent with your recollection of the day?
Yes.
That's all I have. Oh, is that a designated carriage stand?
Oh, no, definitely not. You can see the...
You identify that as being a no parking sign?
Yes.
No stopping or standing sign?
Yes.
Okay. That's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything? No. Stand here.
Do we have
if they ask
anyone from Southern Comfort here?
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Hill. I didn't see you back there.
Yeah, I'm here.
How'd you miss it?
Would you like to see the video?
I don't know what they showed you. I know what the complaint was. I don't know if it's the same thing.
If you need to see it, you can certainly have the right to view it.
And what is the date on this?
June 3rd.
Okay.
Let me apologize for the delay. Between the fire and commission availability, I think they've been scheduled for July. This one's off every month since then.
We left our lot, drove downtown, was headed for where we park, and they had it zoned off. We pulled over on 2nd, waiting for the girl that holds the horses so I could go ask the policeman if we could work there. I mean, if we could park there. People asked for a ride. We took them for a ride. We came back, same thing, unloaded them. People asked for a ride. And then we took off and sat there for, I don't know, maybe an hour or two. The policeman told us we couldn't park there because they had it shut down for Opryland. So we turned and went home.
So when you parked there the initial time, when you said it was blocked off, so you stopped there to go ask,
Yes, ma'am, but
what was blocked off?
our parking spot on Broadway in front of the Hard Rock Cafe.
The one where you're supposed to be was blocked off.
Yes, ma'am, so was First Avenue. We came in on Second.
What was it blocked off with?
Where was it?
What was blocking it?
They had cones. They was getting it ready for the fanfare,
Oh,
closing down Broadway.
okay.
Of course, we didn't know. We just pulled up, thought we were going to work. What would be the suggestion? What should I have done? I'd like to know. I'm listening. Anybody?
Mr. Fields, have you had communications with the carriage companies about what to do when stands are closed off?
The only option from a legal standpoint, the only option they would have is either do as Mr. Morris did, is retire for the evening, or continue to, or ride until the stand's open. The problem with it is the law does say that you have to load and stand. The problem becomes when you load the stand, when the stand is filled. June 3rd would have been a part of CMA, and we were unable to find an additional location for carriage rides. So that's what we started the meeting talking about, and this is a result of it.
I'm told that there was, but I can't testify, that there was sort of an ad hoc or impromptu or designated CMA fest stand in front of the Panera down there. But that's what the other carriage companies did.
Yeah. Now, if not by me or traffic and parking, that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Not by me for sure.
Who told you that?
She didn't she could have, she didn't communicate it to me, so.
You know.
So, Mr. Hale, no one communicated to you another possible place to locate?
Well, there were a lot of places closed down, so we just turned around and went back to the lot.
When you talked to the police officer, did he say there was a designated carriage stand?
He said, I don't care where you park, but you can't park here.
Okay. How long were you out that night?
It seemed like we don't get down there when it's hot to about 7:30 to 8, so probably an hour or so at the most.
I'm going to make a motion to dismiss the complaint.
Can I ask one more question?
Is there a basis, like a code provision, a basis for the code says that they're not permitted to park or unload other than carriage stands?
Well, and the problem is when the carriage stand is covered up and the city has not provided an alternative, or at least somebody in the city may have decided but didn't communicate to the person in charge that there's an alternative location. Person pulls up, it's closed down. She drives by just as he's, trying to figure out what to do. I just don't see how that's
Could I
don't see how
ask
that's
a
an
question?
intentional.
Part of the complaint is about loading and unloading, correct? Did you load or unload passengers?
I know in a qualified place, I guess.
You did load or unload passengers?
Yes, sir.
In a place where you weren't supposed to, basically?
Well, the place we're supposed to was actually blocked.
I understand, but you said you were asking to find out where you were supposed to be. You knew you were in a place where you weren't supposed to load and unload.
Yeah, we had the option.
But you did so anyway.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, people asking for a ride. That's what we go to work for.
But you knew it was a place you weren't supposed to do that.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
technically,
that's all.
technically, yeah.
No, not technically, yes.
All right, yes, it was a place that we're not supposed to pick up at.
I move the motion to the table. Can I do that? Or did it get a second?
It did not get a second.
I'm sorry, never mind, I withdraw that motion.
What are the sanctions if there is a violation?
You could, if you determine a violation, you could give them a warning. You could place them on probation. You could suspend them. You could take their certificate. You could suspend them from operations. For instance, we had this happen with Sugar Creek a couple of years ago. We had an issue downtown. We suspended them from downtown operations for a period of time. Seemed like it was January, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. So you could suspend their right to be you could suspend their right to operate downtown.
Is there a, maybe Metro Legal can tell me, is there a defense of necessity here that might be applicable where you know, like the ship that's on Old Hickory, or the boat that's on Old Hickory Lake and a storm comes up and someone trespasses on somebody else's dock out of necessity?
In sitting here, I don't think we've ever used that as explored that. So I can't say that I've been familiar with us using that in the past. I do think it would have been helpful to have testimony concerning the alternatives, which we don't know as we sit here.
I don't recall any conversation.
Could I ask, what's the difference between a warning and probation? I mean,
Well, a probationary if you put them on probation and then they violated it, you can impose a much more serious penalty. Basically, you stay out of trouble for so many months, or if you don't, then we will impose a more serious infraction against you. Versus a warning is it's like getting a speeding ticket, right? If you get pulled over, you get a warning. Versus being put on probation.
Let me just, Mr. Ruggio?
Yes.
There's also a second complaint, not for the same, it's actually for the same night. So there's 2 complaints, and I just realized that they were exactly the same day. So you may want to combine the 2 if you're going to start taking action. Mr. Ruggio is present. He might be able to give you any additional information, but they're the same night, so I assume it's the same event.
I'm sorry. I apologize for the person before. I thought it was just a open thing.
Yeah, Mr. Ruggio, I do think it makes sense to go ahead and take your complaint before we make any kind of ruling on the first one. But before we do that, I want to go back to Dr. Long's complaint. Dr. Long is still in the room, and I can tell she has some questions. And I wanted to invite Dr. Long back to the podium. Dr. Long, can you hear me? I see that you're still in the room, and that it appears to me that you might have some questions about our ruling, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to ask any questions you had. Particularly since you're considering appeal, and I wanted to make sure you had your questions answered. If you need to come back before the podium.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to come back, because the complaint was that there's not appropriate signage. When the inspector called me, Mr. Morris, and said that he went out, looked at the parking lot, that he's received numerous complaints about this same parking lot, and that they still haven't corrected the things that he suggested they correct. I mean, that's just fact. So I guess I'm just a little baffled that they walk away without having to make any changes, do anything, when the inspector himself told me that he validated my claim that there aren't correct signage. So I mean, that's the complaint. Everything else is just everything else. There's not appropriate signage. I pay to park where I park. And yes, he has a valid point. Maybe I should have looked more, but it was my lunch break. I'm not gonna go searching around when it's clearly not stated. It's next to the Cafe Coco, and there's not appropriate signage. That's fact. So I do plan to appeal, because I still feel like especially when the inspector verifies my claim, stating that they don't have correct signage, and that this is not the first complaint against Cafe Coco, and they still haven't made the changes that they were suggested to make, then I don't understand why this isn't why this gets tossed away so flippantly.
Well, you did the right thing by filing a complaint with the commission. The complaint gets sent to our director, who then circulates it to us. The complaint is made against Nashville Parking Enforcement. they're given notice of it. They're given an opportunity to come here and defend your complaint. Just because you have a statement that from an inspector and of course your written complaint and your testimony doesn't mean that Mr. McCready can't come in and present testimony as well. And obviously he convinced members of the commission that in fact they did have sufficient signage, and that's why the complaint was dismissed. Now, you certainly have the right to appeal. I know you disagree with the decision, but that's the decision we've made. I didn't want you to think that we decided this flippantly, because that certainly did not happen. We devoted several minutes to this issue. We heard from you, we heard from Mr. McCready, we looked at photographs, we read your complaint.
So this is the first time I didn't know what to expect. I could have asked somebody from Cafe Coco to come and be present. I could have asked.
And you still have that opportunity. You can do that on appeal. I would certainly look at your options there. Okay, thank you for letting me interrupt the complaint against Southern Comfort. Let's get back, Mr. Ruggio.
Yes. So I've been here for about...
Yes, Mr. Ruggio, I'm going to have to put you under oath.
Okay.
Thank you for reminding me. If you'll please repeat after me, I swear or affirm.
I swear or affirm.
That the testimony that I'm about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay, we're going to have to go a little bit slower than that.
That the testimony that I'm about to give.
That I give.
Is the truth.
Is the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
Thank you.
So I've been here in Nashville for about 14 years. I've had my own little run-ins with the horse carriage, and not in a good way. Apparently they don't like Lyft drivers very much. But I had one that actually came up to me, one of these companies come up to me, literally pound on my window and tell me that I could not park here. I could not drop off my passengers that were from out of country, and scared the crap out of us. So I decided that I was going to bite my time and wait till they actually screwed it up and come here. So on June 3rd, I believe it was June 3rd, I was eating my lunch, which was nighttime because I work nights, and I saw Southern Comfort park in a no parking zone on 2nd, right in front of the Hard Rock Cafe on the 2nd, and you could blatantly see on 2nd it says no parking. I have a video of that. I also have a video where they're supposed to pick up and drop off, and that is, and we've even talked about that here today, that their alternative is also to pick up and drop off between 4th and 5th on Commerce, right in front of the Panera Bread. Now, I've been working this fanfare since Lyft came here, so about 5-6 years. And I know that that is another designated area, so I know that the companies know where their drop-off pickup points are, because that did not change. And I do have video if you want to see that, where it's blatantly says in carriage pickup area. Now, I've been a little bit upset with this committee and Mr. Fields. I'm trying not to like him, but he's actually been a pretty nice guy. I've been down here once and found out that this meeting was canceled. The lack of communication that you have with the people, it really upset me. I came in here with a chip on my shoulder because my time is just as valuable as anybody else's here. And when I'm not told by an email of when I'm on the agenda, when it got canceled, that's like saying that my complaint is not worth the crap. So if you want to see those videos, I can show them.
Well, it's your election if you'd like to see them, if you'd like to show them to us.
Okay. Let me see. So this is, let's go. I think it's, this is carriage.
You hold it up below, just up this way.
And it shows Fifth and Connors. And that has been the carriage stand.
Right.
One of the carriage stands for, God, at least the last 6 years that Lyft and Uber's been in here. And then I have them actually parked. Sorry. Maybe that's probably better. That's second. I think that's on a timeless loop, but that's about it.
So is that the same day as the other complaint?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the video will incorporate that video into our evidence as well. I think it really shows a designated carriage stand that's empty, not locked up.
Yeah.
We weren't aware of that carriage stand, but no.
On between Fourth, I believe it's the Panera Bread right there on
Same
Fourth
date.
and Commerce, or
Right.
between Fourth and Fifth Commerce. There is a carriage stand that is always open. They don't use it a lot, except that when there's a Preds game or when it's really, really busy. So I'm not sure why they didn't use that area, but for them to say that they didn't know where they could go to drop off and pick up people, that's an understatement.
Your video shows just one carriage, right?
I got both of
Hold
them.
on, please.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's a typo to say that there were two carriages. We're only complaining about one.
But your video only shows one carriage, correct? And your video shows two carriages?
Yes.
And they clearly are Southern Comfort carriages?
Yes.
Okay. But it's the same date, but obviously different incidences because one shows one carriage and one shows two carriages.
We're not associated with Mr. Rubin.
I understand. I'm just trying to connect trying to
Right.
understand the videos. Your video shows one carriage from Southern Comfort, right? On June 3rd, 2019, correct?
Yes.
And yours showed two carriages on June 3rd, 2019. All Southern Comfort.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all. Nothing more. Thank you.
So
And
it's
if
not
I-
the same incident
No.
necessarily, yeah.
Well, it could be.
About what time were you having your meal?
This says 7:45.
7:45-ish, yeah. My understanding is, didn't he just testify saying that he went home for that night?
Hold on.
Well, again, both of the complaints said 7. That's the reason I connected them. It was, both said, he said 7:45 and the other one said 7:45, so I made an assumption. They were both.
No, Mr. Rubio doesn't have a time on his
doesn't have a
complaint.
time.
Just-
No, I mean, in his conversation, when I just asked him.
Yeah. So, Mr. Hale, back to you.
Mr. Morris.
Hold on. I'm sorry, Mr. Morris. I apologize. Mr. Morris, back to you.
Yes.
Did you have two carriages out June 3rd?
Yes, that's what I just told you.
Okay.
We drove down there.
You did say we. I was thinking you were only talking about one. So two carriages on June 3rd, both parked there at the improperly.
Correct.
And picking up, did both carriages pick up riders?
Yes.
All right. I got better understanding now. Thank you.
Sir, I just looked at the timestamp on mine. Mine was at 8:35.
Oh.
That video.
So you're at 8:35, and somehow you have put down 7:45. How'd you designate 7:45?
That's the timestamp on my video.
Okay. What do you say,
8:35. Is it 8:35?
Mine's 8:35. My video stamp is at 8:35.
Well, it's still within an hour.
They obviously just turn around and go back.
So was the carriage stand blocked at the time he said, or
Yes,
was it
ma'am.
not? Or-
It was blocked.
The carriage where he's supposed to pick up on, also up between 4th and 5th, that was open.
Oh, I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about where we park normally.
So the Panera carriage stand was open and available, and the one in front of Hard Rock was closed?
And First Avenue
And
was
First Avenue.
closed.
Okay. Have you abandoned downtown now?
Well, to a certain degree, nothing would be done about the harassment, so that's their assumption that there's more room for carriages. They've run off two companies.
So you still operate downtown?
Well, not during this season, till after Opryland is over.
Well, as I understand procedurally, we first vote on whether there's been a violation or not, and then we vote on, and if we find there was a violation, then we vote on what sanctions to take. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, I make a motion to find that there, first I would make a motion to combine the complaint by Mr. Riggins, is it Ruggins? Ruggio, I'm sorry, I would make a motion to combine the complaint by Mr. Ruggio and the complaint of National Animal Advocacy because they're within roughly 50 minutes of each other on the same evening, involving the same persons in the same carriages.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I make a motion to find that there has been a violation of Metro Code 12.54.200A12 in that Southern Comfort was operating two carriages on the night of June 3rd in a no loading zone on 2nd Avenue.
All right, and I'd like to show you these of this company at
Well,
the same place.
there's an open motion right now.
Okay, it's the same location, two nights later.
I understand. Is there a second regarding the motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
No.
Abstaining?
No. I agree. Aye.
Motion passes.
May I intervene for just a second? Mr. Morrison, you said you had a video of something you wanted to show us. Is it another company that is in violation or another
Doing the
company that
exact-
was running into the same problems you were running
They're
into?
doing the exact same thing that y'all just passed motion on.
Same evening?
Parked same place 2 days later.
Okay.
Was that still during CMA Fest?
That's the exact same corner 2 days later,
June 5th?
June 5th.
All right.
And they're taking rides. Animal
Are you introducing that as evidence of mitigation?
Well, for whatever.
Say yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're getting free legal advice here.
Can't just be one-sided.
Are we open for discussion on sanction?
Yes.
I would open it up now for a discussion about what sanctions y'all think.
June 5th.
Wait, Mr. Chairman, if that's going to be admitted, this person, we didn't have any notice that we're going to have to defend any charge, and no complaints being made against us. but she
I don't
had-
think it's,
She had
there's,
permission of a police officer expressly that evening, if we're talking about mitigation.
Okay, so you got permission from a police officer to go ahead and do that?
Yes, from
And-
Officer Beetham.
Okay, that's fine. I think that actually supports his mitigation, that obviously law enforcement was starting to make some other arrangements as music to accommodate the carriages. So thank you.
Could be.
Hey, just say yes. All right. What do y'all
Needing a
think?
witness.
Ms. Palmer?
Need to do something.
I just think this is another symptom of, just the chaos downtown. And, somebody's trying to run their business. They pull up to their place where they're supposed to park. They can't park there. Nobody, Mr. Field says nobody told him there was an alternate place.
If, obviously, they put a stand-up without me knowing they have a stand-up, which is great. I'm glad we got a stand.
But it'd be nice for you to
The
know
last
so you
stand
could
we had on
communicate
Commerce,
that.
I was aware of, and y'all will remember, was the one on Lower Commerce by Second.
Diane Marshall sent us an all email.
That stand has been there for.
Well, I'm just saying what I've been advised of.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying it's what I've been advised of.
And I'm just saying that that stand has been there for at least 2 years. So if you haven't been down there, then.
I just don't know. Obviously, I've not seen every sign in Nashville, actually.
Well, based on the circumstances of CMA, a festival, the other evidence that I've heard today that an officer actually was giving permission to another company to park and to load and unload in a similar situation, and Mr. Morrison's candor here today, I would make a recommendation that we issue a warning to Southern Comfort Carriages for these violations.
Second.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. I want to add something, not to the motion, but just make a statement that it's still, though, very important, despite, as what Ms. Palmer says, the chaos downtown, that we do everything that we can to abide by the laws of Metro, by this commission. If you feel like, if you're put in a situation like you were at CMA Fest, go to a police officer, ask, hey, here's my situation, I've got to do this, and get the officer's name, and if they give you some leeway, that's great. But we need to try to respect the rule of law as much as possible. We do not need everything coming to the commission. I understand it comes to us, and it should come to us when complaints are filed, when there are disputes. But I do not want there to be this kind of laissez-faire attitude that happens because, oh, well, there's chaos downtown. We're just going to have to roll with it because that's just going to create more chaos.
Yes, sir.
All right, so it is 4:38. We might have time to hear one more complaint. American Melody Carriages against Sugar Creek Carriages.
Mr. Chairman, if I can make a suggestion, I have what I guess we could call dispositive motions to make. We don't have time for all of this proof if you consider these, but inasmuch as we're here, and I include Ms. Robinson as this for perhaps the third time to try to hear this. Wait, hey.
Hold on.
Let me finish dancing, and then you. First of all, one of these charges says, with no specificity, that Sugar Creek has operated without a business license for some long period of time. The law, and I discussed this the last time, was Ms. Costanza the one that was here last time? Costonis, excuse me. I discussed this the last time, and she and I were not in disagreement about the statute. The statute only requires that you be licensed in one place unless you have an additional place of business in the other county. Now, that's a factual thing, but before you get to that, this commission doesn't have, and I would suggest wouldn't want, jurisdiction over what constitutes a valid or proper business license. That is the jurisdiction of someone else. We could get into we would have to get into a debate as to whether Mr. Smith's business license in his in Humphreys County, Hickman County, excuse me, is all that he needs. That is what, in calling the State Department of Revenue, we're told. But let's start with the threshold question. You don't ask for a business license before you give a permit. It's not listed anywhere in the ordinance or anywhere on the application. Therefore, not having one is not cannot possibly be a violation.
Mr. Blackburn, Ms. Robinson did list a statute number here, or Metro Code Section 1254-070A8. What is that?
That's a code section that says that the carriage companies have to abide by the law, have to obtain, for example, you'd have to have a driver's license, the things that are requested at the time of the application. That's all that says.
I understand.
Then on these others, the one having to do with the rain, that one cited the pre-July 3 ordinance. The specific citation to which she cited is no longer applicable and wasn't at the time she alleges. Do you have that the alternative one, the correct one? You can get into all sorts of arguments over what means inclement weather. There's going to be any number of disputes about that. The one that she cited as presently written says, no horse shall be permitted to pull a carriage with a loose shoe. That's the code section, Metro Code section that she cited. So that should be dismissed. The other two were not timely. They were filed initially without including the business license, were filed without a signature. I have spoken with Mr. Field's office. According to the ordinance, they're not to process those. That is not actually a filing if it's submitted without a signature. Ms. Robinson was advised of that. She later filed these two new ones, putting a signature. You can tell by looking at the two that there are some handwritten notations. There are actually changes on one of them showing that it's a different document. That means that under your 30-day rule, they were not timely filed. They are not factually correct. There are other complaints about them, but we don't, in the interest of your 5 o'clock deadline, we don't have to get to that if they weren't timely filed. So I respectfully submit that all of these citations should be, all these complaints should be dismissed on those bases. If you want to proceed with them, obviously we don't have the time to do that by 5 o'clock.
All right, thank you, Mr. Blackburn. With regard to the first complaint about the operating without a proper business license, I would like to get some feedback regarding whether or not we have the authority to determine if in fact someone's operating with a proper business license or not.
It's my understanding that a business license, you have to have a business license in your home base. So if you do business in Nashville, you would do it here. If your business is Sumner County, you would do it there. If you do business in Nashville, unless you have an office space or whatever, it's my impression you don't have to. Now, I can't give you the finer detail of that because obviously they do business in Nashville. But in a conversation years ago, because cab companies are required to have a business license, I think, the question was in what county?
Yeah,
So,
for instance, if you had a contractor working on your home, but their home office or their business was in Williamson County, but they were coming to Davidson County to do work on the home, would they be required to have a contractor's license in Davidson County? I'm just using an analogy there.
if they've got a state license, if you have a state license, that would supersede anything in Davidson County. If they don't have a state license, then I think they have to go to codes to get, my memory of my 4 years working in codes, that you do have to have a permit, you have to have a license. Again, if you don't have something that would give you authority to work across county lines.
So if they have their stables and their offices in Hickman County and they have a business license in Hickman County, but they're providing a service in Davidson County, do they have to have a business license in Davidson County?
Got a feeling it's going to be either a Department of Revenue question or a county clerk question.
I do not have the answer as I sit here. That would be something that I would need to do legal research on. I know that Mr. Blackburn said that he's previously spoken with Ms. Costonis, and I'll gladly go back and have a conversation with her about that, but that's just not something that we have in the wheelhouse in front of us.
Well, that's Mr. Blackburn's argument, is that we're not the authority to decide whether or not the business license needs to be in Hickman or Davidson, for the internal, for Tennessee Department of Revenue.
Right.
Another
I
department.
think, though, that the way, and again, I would like to confer with Ms. Costonis if she's made a previous ruling or if she's previously discussed this with Mr. Blackburn. But the way subsection 8 is written, it says that they've operated without appropriate permits and licenses issued by any other government entity. It's very broadly written, and I don't know that we've been asked this question before, and so as it's written, the way it's written so broadly, I do understand the argument, but it does seem to encompass all government entity licenses.
Right, but I guess from what I understand, though, is what Ms. Robinson is asking us to do is first find that Sugar Creek was not operating with a proper business license before we can find, okay, therefore you're violating 1254-070.
Right, I agree with that.
And we can't even answer that question necessarily.
No.
Now, if somebody, other entity told us, yep, you were not operating with a business license, and then Ms. Robinson came here and said they were not operating with a proper business license, here's the ruling, you need to do something about it. That way, I think then we could handle that complaint.
As opposed
I don't want to misstate what she and I discussed. It
Right.
was like over a month ago. But I wouldn't characterize it as a ruling.
Well, I mischaracterize it as well because she doesn't have that capacity. But what I meant was, had she previously given you different information? Because I don't like to give conflicting information.
What she said was, I showed her the statutes and I showed her correspondence from the Department of Revenue, and she said, I don't see anything here to decide this in any other way. And it was a neutral statement. She didn't say, no, I think the board has that authority. But I think the chair has identified it. He has a license. There's no dispute about that. So the question of whether these are revenue collecting laws is what they are. So the question of whether it's required here cannot be determined by this body simply because it's not afforded the authority to do that. That's really all.
Well, we probably have the authority, Mr. Blackburn. What I'm saying is the ability to make a decision and have it somehow necessarily apply anywhere but in this exact situation with Ms. Robinson's complaint, I don't know if it wouldn't really carry any weight, and we wouldn't necessarily be correct either. I mean, we could get reversed if Mr. Smith went to the Department of Revenue and said, I need you to validate that I have a proper business license, and he'd come back here and say, see, here you go. So I do think that this is one where we should dismiss the complaint.
Can I ask another question real quick on that complaint? What's the effect of them not being dated to the right of Ms. Robinson's signature on both the complaint about double parking in streets dated June 23rd and also the carriages being consistently operated without a proper license dated June 23rd at the top? I mean, I've always seen every complaint we've had, the signature line, and then there's the date of when it was
Typically the
signed.
same date. The date at the top, and with the complaint would be in the body of the, for instance, in the case of the operating without proper business license, it was ongoing up to at least 5/24 and after. So,
but the effect of the person who's taking out the complaint and signing it, there's no date there. What impact does that impact the validity of the complaint?
when it came, they were originally, I think, emailed in, and then it was brought to our attention. We attempted to correct that by getting signatures. So obviously could be an issue there then.
The rule doesn't specifically state, if the question is specifically what the rule states that it has to be filed within or submitted within 30 days. It doesn't state, I don't, Billy, you have that rule?
It requires signature.
It requires signature.
Yes.
Signature, yeah.
And these were not signed, and then that was called to her attention, and then she resubmitted them wholly outside the 30-day period.
How do I know that?
Well, Mr. Fields told me, and what happened was that we asked.
Well, that's why I'm asking. There's no date on the signature, so I don't.
No,
it leaves it ambiguous on the paperwork. Now, if Mr. Fields can tell me it
I
didn't.
think it came in the time period, except it was not completed in the time period. If signature's required, which obviously it is, then it would have been completed after that time period, I think is what he's saying.
Okay.
This is a help I can approach. This was one of the original ones that was served by the commission on Mr. Smith. And here's the other one. Excuse me. I was actually in the hospital in South Carolina, and my associate, Brian Kroll, wrote a letter and said that we've got these and they're not signed. So nothing really happened. We got to the point of preparing for the meeting and requested copies, and the copies came, and they weren't the ones that we had. They weren't the ones that had been served for two reasons. The most important reason was they then had a signature on them, and secondly, one of the two had some additional handwriting on them, which legally makes them a different document, but wholly outside the code.
Mr. Fields, you're saying that the signature copies definitely came in after the 30-day deadline?
Correct. When it was called to our attention, I consulted legal. Legal said you need to get it corrected.
Okay.
Also, and again, one of the reasons why we afforded Ms. Robinson leeway was because that it wasn't going to be on the current agenda because they asked for an extension. And so the extension request and her figuring out that she didn't properly fill it out came in within an hour of each other, a few days of each other. And so that's why we gave her the opportunity to correct her complaints, because she did timely file them, she didn't sign them.
But the extension request.
Let me ask a legal question. So, is that something that can be waived, a signed complaint within the 30 days?
I'm trying to get my fingers on the rule right now.
Okay.
I don't recall the rule stating specifically what has to be on the complaint, other than it has to be filed within 30 days.
Well, it says it won't be received unless it's signed. And at this point, I believe it's presumably under oath. So the letter that was written explaining why I couldn't be here.
Well, it does say right underneath the signature line, form must be signed or it will not be processed.
Yes. So this isn't a correction. This is a new document. Right. And it's outside the 30 days.
I've distracted us from what the commissioner was saying to begin with about the complaint regarding the business license. I'll make a motion to dismiss that one based upon the arguments and the comments that have been made so far.
As to the other complaint that apparently was not signed until later.
Outside the 30 days, yeah.
I think that we should, I think we have the discretion to allow the complaint to go forward. I think we should. I'd rather rule on it substantively rather than on some formality that she didn't sign it and then later signed it.
Which is why I wanted to give you the opportunity. Again, that's why Billy and I made the decision that we made.
All right, well, I just got a motion on the one pertaining to dated June 23rd, 2019, alleging that Sugar Creek Carriages has been consistently operating without a proper business license. And my motion is to dismiss that complaint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, so we've got, it's 4:56. There was one other dispositive motion made by Mr. Blackburn, and that was with regard to the complaint about operating in the rain. And his argument was that the Metro Code section being cited was no longer applicable. and so he was moving to dismiss on that ground. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. The one that she cited, the old ordinance, that I don't think there's any disagreement that the new one came into effect with the mayor's signature on July the 3rd. And I just read out loud the section to which she cited, which has nothing to do with the issue.
What is the new metro section on this point?
Horseshoe being nailed, not having loose shoes.
240B23 is no horse shall be permitted to pull a carriage with a loose shoe. B22 is the one that she would have been owner shall not allow animal to be worked on a public highway, path, or street during adverse weather or other conditions that are a threat to public health.
So she just cited at this point, it should have been B22 instead of B23.
Well, I mean, that's a corresponding language, it's corresponding language or similar language.
I think that, again, we're given discretion to read the complaint for what it says, and the description of the incident clearly is applicable to 1254 240B22, not B23. I think we can take notice of that fact when we consider the complaint. We probably need motions on those 2 points about whether or not we're going to deny Mr. Blackburn's dispositive motion to dismiss the complaint dated June 23rd with regard to being parked outside carriage stands and blocking walks. The fact that it was not signed, I think we need to rule on that, and I think we need to rule on whether or not we're going to read Ms. Robinson's complaint dated August 7th for having meant to cite B22 as opposed to B23.
Do we know it's B22? I don't think I even have the right one.
It has not, it's not in the code yet. I mean, it's in the code, it hadn't been codified through the,
We have a copy of the ordinance here to verify.
I'm just looking, mine's still the old one as well,
Yeah.
so.
I guess what I'm suggesting is
Doesn't matter.
to get to a stopping point here, I think we can then pick up with these complaints substantively at the next meeting, but we can go ahead and rule on Mr. Blackburn's dispositive motions. I mean, and if y'all disagree and y'all want to file a motion or make a motion and grant them, that's fine. Just my suggestion.
Are we comfortable on the legal positions at this point that we're making, that we can allow the complaints to be amended or modified?
The rule is unfortunately in the minute book at this moment back at my office. In the confusion this week, we just didn't get the minute book here, and I apologize for that.
I'm going to make a motion that we defer these 3 complaints to the next meeting and let Mr. Blackburn's motions be under advisement and see what Metro Legal says when they come back.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Now, I will, just 2 things that we can get out of here, but on complaints in general, I think I've got 16 additional complaints, all related to carriages.
Between these two?
But remember, Mr. Fields, you approached me about procedure, and we're going to take 3 or 4 at a time.
Correct. What we're going to try to do is just sort of, we'll try to put them together in a bundle. If, for instance, if there's several that are all about a particular issue, what we can do is bundle that in, for instance, loading and unloading, or if it's lights or
as we expressed last time, we have no objection to as many of those as possible. To the extent that we're involved in them, be deferred to the director as the rules permit, rather than the commission.
And we have talked, and I'm not opposed to doing that. One of the real issues we have is there's questions about how it gets appealed and what's the basis for the appeal. But I'm happy to sit with legal and try to work that out.
Now, Mr. Fields, there are a couple of items left. On other business, we've got the taxi cab inventory update and the meeting schedule for 2020.
Yeah, let me advise you that Pink Cab has reduced their fleet from 35 to 15. Magic has reduced their fleet from 54 to 40. Taxi USA has reduced their fleet from 150 to 100. Volunteer has reduced their fleet from 80 to 50. Yellow has reduced their fleet 90 to 80. They all did that through surrendering, not renewing the permits, which becomes an automatic loss. They become void. Secondly, I have given you your 2020 schedule. It basically mirrors this year. They're the fourth Thursday of every month, with the exception of November and December. Your hearings are set. The deadline for the annual tax cap hearing is December the 6th of this year. The deadline for annual record meeting submittals is May 1st of next year. The deadline for LSV and pedal carriage hearing would be July the 2nd of next year. Then finally, horse-drawn carriage, any issues related to additional carriages or new permits would be Friday, September 25th. Anyway, that's your schedule, and I would ask that you approve that.
Move to approve the 2020 meeting schedule.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Anybody want to make the motion to adjourn?
Yeah, and Mr. Fields, 2 cab companies went out of business as well.
Oh, I apologize. Yes, we have additional. Green Cab is no longer in business with their 35 cabs. Quick Cab is out of business with their 30 cabs.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds like we made progress today.
We did.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.